Okay, we're live. I am Joshua Kemble. I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer for going on like 20 years now. I'm also an art director. I've been doing that for over 6 years. And that's honestly why I've been MIA quite a bit on these live streams as of late. I had to kind of double down at my work and kind of do some extra stuff. That balanced with the graphic novel that I'm currently working on, it was just like important for me to kind of take a minor break from YouTube just for a little bit, just to kind of get my house in order. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyhow, so I have two books out. I have Jacob's Apartment, which I'll be showing a trailer for probably midstream, maybe an hour or so in, and that graphic novel is 128 pages, and it's a story about two polar opposite roommates that both are going through life circumstances and struggles, and one is dealing with the death of a family member. The other is kind of questioning their relationship choices because of a broken relationship, and uh, and so the two kind of find themselves drawn together. Corey's here. He said, Josh. Uh, Frank said, "Hey, Josh. Frank, I finally got your card." Frank sent me a really kind Christmas card that he had asked for where to send it, and I was MIA online for a little bit, so I didn't see the message. And anyhow, so I finally gave him where to send it, and he sent me the Christmas card late, but that's my fault, not his. And it's a great card. So check that out, Tarako Comics. Tarako is a really cool show, and Frank is a really good guy. So yeah. And then Philip Chandler is in the chats. He said, "Wow, Josh, great to see you again. Great to see you, Philip." Oh, and just so you guys know, since it's Saturday, I'm having a beverage, which is a mango cart, Golden Road Brewing. I don't like these as much as there's a spicy mango cart that is amazing, but I'm not as big of a fan of this particular mango cart ever since having the spicy one, because the spicy one's good. But that's what I'll be drinking during this stream. Hopefully, I can adjust my lighting too. My light kind of got kind of weird. So anyhow, that's all. Oh, and then I forgot to mention also Two Stories, which is my graphic novel about my journey learning how to deal with depression, childhood bullies, weird religious schools, and yeah. So and also struggles with mental illness and faith. And it's a pretty good book. That's available on Amazon and places all over the place. Also, since this is a Saturday, in the background, you're going to be seeing a lot of family stuff going on, which is great. Um, and today, what we're going to be working on is Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. It's a graphic novel that I'm doing for Turner Publishing, and I'm on page 67. I got a deadline extension on it, which is really nice. But the goal here is to just plug away and get as much done during this stream as possible. I think what I'm going to try to do is probably like shade a page. So that's what we're going to be doing, is working on comics together. So I encourage you guys, if you're watching or listening along, like pull up your art table and art stuff, and let's draw together and get projects done. And I'm probably going to talk a little bit about Risk, the game of Risk, because that's honestly another reason. Another reason I haven't been live streaming as much is I have gotten super interested in the game of Risk online, and it is super fun. And I right now just play on my phone, but I have heard there's like a Steam version of Risk. So I don't know. Let me know in the chats, but maybe at some point I'll open up a Steam I don't know. I think I can do Steam on Mac, but if I can, maybe I'll open up an account and do live streams when I play that too, just if that's something you guys would want to see. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to get into some artwork. So that only took me like 5 minutes, and being as long-winded as I am, that's not too long. I also want to mention at the top, I do take super chats, and your support is what helps me do these streams and run my channel and kind of keep afloat doing comics. So I'm mentioning that. And after the fact, I think you can send like super thanks as well. So those are options, that are open. But let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can get the light better before we get into the drawing stuff. That's a little better. Okay. What else? Oh yeah. Okay. Corey said that Steam works on Mac, but it's dependent on the game. Yeah. So and then Frank said you can play Risk on your phone. Cool. Yeah, I gotta tell you about it. It's so cool. And then Jake Twister, Jake, good to see you, buddy. Said tabletop simulator can run on a Mac if you buy it through Steam. Okay, I'm gonna have to see, but I've been doing Risk online for about a month, and I've gone from like they kind of start you out. It's almost ranked like chess, and so right now I'm at expert, which is like right below master and grandmaster. But my secret little goal on this little side quest of Risk is to try to become at least a master at it. And so we'll get into that and why I think it's fascinating, and it ties in a lot with my job as well because it has a lot to do with like tactics and leadership and building alliances, and I don't know, it's really interesting. So I think it's a very sophisticated game for just being like I have 5 troops on this area, you have 1. There's way more to it than just like troop sizes, because like it anyhow, we'll get into that, but I really have been enjoying it. And if I can figure it, that's the other thing, I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes to streaming. I've never streamed and I'm a total boomer when it comes to gaming because I don't game, so I've never really streamed a game. So if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, let me know, and maybe I'll see if I can set it up, and I'll talk to Corey. I'll talk to Corey about it, because Corey, like anytime I am technically not capable, Corey Kerr would be the go-to guy. Which, by the way, you guys should be checking out Corey Kerr's stuff. I also forgot to oh, and then Philip said, I used to play Risk years ago, the board version. Me too. And so I think I was watching Gary Hodges and Jim Lujan talking about board games. They have a top 10 show that was on Gary Hodges' channel. I think they're still going to do top 10s, I hope. They're really fun, but one of them had mentioned Risk and how fun it was to play Risk, and I was like, you know what? I haven't played Risk in a long time, so I looked to see if they had it, and they had it, and it's super fun and enjoyable. Okay, and then yeah, Corey was like, "You're already good to go, game through OBS and stream." That's what I figure, but I'd have to kind of set it up on my OBS and stuff. So if that's something you guys are interested in, cool. Now, without further ado, let's get into working on some comics. So I think that'll work. Okay, so this is where I'm at on page 67. I haven't streamed in a while, so you guys probably haven't seen some of these pages. I also caught up on my Instagram posts of like sneak peeks of a single panel from each page that I've been posting on Instagram as Joshua Kemble. And so you can check out like little sneak peeks of the story thus far. So if you feel like you're kind of missing where we're at in the story, then yeah, well, hopefully you can kind of use that to try to get some spoilers. And and then also these streams, which I plan on doing more consistently. So now we're at 10 minutes. And then Corey said I'd be down to play. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been playing mostly FFA ranked games, which technically you can't have friends play, which is kind of an interesting thing. But it kind of makes sense because if, like, I don't know, like Corey, if you and I were just like, we're just going to dominate this game, if you have like 2 players that are on a team that are friends already, then it makes alliances super easy for those people and gives them kind of an unfair advantage. It's really interesting. We have Gary Hodges of DVSM, D versus M. I'm trying to get used to the new branding and honor that. I don't know if Gary's good to go, so just give me a thumbs up if you're good to go. It looks like it's from a con, so let's see if the connection works because it's a little choppy, but we'll see. I'm gonna add him on. All right, Gary. I don't know if we can. I hear a convention in the background.
Yeah, there's a convention in the background.
I can kind of hear you.
My connection is not great. I was just going to come in and say hi. Welcome you back to the YouTubes. Welcome you back to live streaming.
Awesome.
How's it going? Is it all you remembered?
It's actually pretty fun. It's funny when I haven't done something in a while, I get anxiety like a minute before it, and then like the second. Yeah. I mean, you know this because you do live streams. It's like the second you kind of press record, it's like, oh, okay, this wasn't a big deal, you know?
That's fine. Yeah.
How's the con? Absolutely. Like, I'm curious because you said it was like $50 a table or something ridiculously cheap like 50. That.
Crazy, and you know what? I'm going to talk about it more in my live stream tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's great. It's really, really good. It's been a great show for me. Weirdly, it's probably been the best show I've ever done.
Nice.
Who would have known? But yeah, no, it's just exactly the right audience you want. It's people who are way into comic books and are here to buy indie comics.
Nice. So it's like old cons where people actually went to comic book conventions to buy comics.
It's a convention of, they're selling comic books. Who would have thought? But yeah, there's no movie stuff, no TV stuff.
Yes.
The biggest thing you'd have here is like local comic book shops. That's it.
Nice.
Like, yeah. So
which again, you want people supporting anyway. So that's awesome.
Yes. So no, I'm happy. I'm happy I found it. I'm happy I'm doing it. So I got about 3 hours left. Already I'm like in a position where I would like to sell more. I'd love to sell out, but even if I don't, I'm already in a good spot. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's also encouraging to hear because I have been looking for an excuse to make an Arizona trip. And if this was worth it, the table cost, we could just drive up there on a weekend, like me and Jim.
Absolutely. Well, and these tables are giant. Let me see if I can show you. So hold on, I'm going to walk you over.
All right, guys, we're getting an exclusive tour.
That's right.
Gary Hodges done. Actually, yeah, show us your booth too.
Okay, so but first I'll show you this table. The person didn't show up, so you can see it unadorned right here.
Oh, Gary, I know you're a fan of Risk. Sorry to kind of.
What's that? Yeah.
I know you're a fan of Risk.
It's like an 8-foot table. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. If you can. Let's see.
That's a good setup.
My table over there.
That's huge.
That's awesome. But anyway, no, giant tables. Yeah, so it's like. I got mine for like $55. I'm sure it'll be more next year because it's the show's going well and that was a steal. But even if it's doubled, like $100 table, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Great crowd. I've got a great neighbor over here.
Oh, good. No carnival barkers.
No carnival barkers. No, like it's all around great. All around great. I'm very pleased I did it. I kind of maybe like you going on this morning. You get up and you're like, do I even really want to do this?
Yeah.
Like this is. I would rather just stay home. Yeah. Trying to finish the book. But I was like, nah, I'm already. I got all my stuff. Let's just go do this thing. You go in with no expectations, which is probably a good move. And it was great. It's been great. So
that's really exciting to hear. So Gary, it was mentioned the idea that Corey was saying, can you do a private game of just friends? It seems like an Artcasters game would be fun in regards to Risk, and I think we should get like you, Corey, Jim, all of us to play Risk with friends on stream. That would be hilarious.
I'm 100% in. Fully in. Absolutely. No, totally.
And I have a feeling you're like a turtle strategy guy. Like, do you turtle? Like the thing where you just kind of accrue like 100 troops in one corner.
A little bit. I am on that side of the spectrum where it's like I just start amassing, and before anyone really notices, like, what are you gonna do about Gary's million troops in Australia? Yeah, like
I like it.
So I just want to come and say hi to you. I'm glad you're back. If I was home, I would absolutely be watching.
Awesome.
But I should probably get back to.
Oh yeah, go sell some books, man. Let us know how it goes. We'll tune into your stream, Gary Hodges YouTube, Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. Check out his stream and recap tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow it's probably gonna be the normal time, 11 a.m. Arizona time. I'm gonna go on and I'll be mostly debriefing on this, and I also took a video walking around the floor to show people what it looked like. So, yeah, tune in.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Gary. Thanks. Right. Have a good con, man.
Have a good rest of the day.
I just realized I said have a good con, man. It sounds like I'm asking him to get scammed. Anyhow, all right, let's get into drawing. That was cool though. I'm glad that's going well because like Gary's not kidding. Like the booth costs at that con are like so cheap that I told him, I was like, dude, I'm not gonna spend money and drive, to a different state, even though it's a relatively short drive. It's like I don't want to do that, not knowing if the con's any good. And hearing that the con is good, I'm like, okay, cool. That's a convention in Arizona that maybe I'll do. So yeah, Christopher Runciman also joining, saying live streaming. All right, hi Christopher. Christopher's wife on his channel did a really awesome review of Jacob's apartment, and I encourage you guys to not only check out Christopher's live streams and stuff like that, but it was a really sweet review and very insightful and also kind of neat because it seems like she's a pretty heavy reader, which is good. So Christopher has a good lady. It seems like somebody who like reads books, which is a good sign for a human being. And then the last thing I was going to mention before kind of getting into it, Philip Chandler also did a review. I haven't been able to comment on it yet, but I think I just liked it. But anyhow, Philip Chandler did a review of Frank's book, Adam Lohr's book, and then my book, all on one stream, and it was really nice as well and very insightful and thoughtful. So I wanted you to know that it is muchly appreciated. All right, let's get into this art stuff. We're at 18 minutes and I haven't started. But I mean, there's a lot of catching up to do. I haven't done a live stream in a while. Okay, so my goal here is to shade this page, at least on this stream. I'd like to shade maybe the whole page, but we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. So what I'm thinking is I have the previous page pulled up as well. So my light source is coming from these windows up here, right? And so it's like, it's kind of a front lit scene, like she's front lit. And I need to keep that lighting in mind as I'm rendering this. So this is a really funny scene in the book. Basically, Elizabeth is sitting down, writing, working on her poetry, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and suddenly we see a skeleton appear behind Elizabeth. She looks over, and it's clearly a skeleton being pushed by Robert, her husband. And she looks over and is like, "What is that?" And then he's like, "A skeleton." And that's kind of where we're at. So on this page, they're going to be talking about the skeleton. Oh, and then Frank said his nearly sold out book, only 2 copies are left. Captain Goggles and Mask Woman. Yeah. And Christopher also said she really enjoyed it, and books have to be good to for her to review it. That's awesome. That's also not a bad. I knew a guy in college who wrote stuff for like Art Forum and stuff. It's like the high art kind of like gallery scene, and did criticism and reviews. And his theory on review, and then my sister also used to review movies, and both of them, like for a living, and both of them had this really great kind of take on how you should treat reviewing. And the thing is, you basically, if you're going to something, especially something that's not like overblown or huge, if you're going to do a review, generally, if you don't like something that's small, like let's say you get assigned to like go, like for instance, to like an art gallery, it's a new artist who's not a big deal. You go to the show and you don't like it. A lot of the time, or it's like an indie film that you weren't really a big fan of, even though it's easier to write that because you're going to be full of just like all kinds of like, oh man, I'm enraged about this thing. I wasted my time, that kind of thing. And it's easier to write negative than positive. For a writer, at least for most writers, it's easier to explain why you hate something than why you like something. So a lot of really good reviewers will really go out of their way to try to, like, with small stuff, it's like punching up. With small stuff, if they didn't enjoy it, they just kind of won't talk about it. Or if they have to review it, they'll be a little softer on it. Whereas if they loved something that's small, they're gonna like blow it out of proportion. And I think that's a really good. So I'm just rambling about that because of what Christopher said, but I think that's a good idea. Like, don't really. I don't know. Maybe there's not a point in like posting reviews about something you hate. Like maybe it's just better to post about things you love, and then save that hate and vitriol for something that's like way overblown, has way too many people liking it, and you absolutely hate, and they can take the hit. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's something that a lot of professional reviewers do, and I think it's a good tactic, and we're going to talk about tactics in a second. We're going to talk about risk, you guys. I also noticed that Philip was saying I got really into Settlers of Catan, and I love that game. I never was able to get. It's such a hard game to get people to play because it takes it's kind of like Risk, where it just takes a decent amount of time to play a good game, and you need to have like a weekly game night or something to have people like meet up and play it. But that is a great game, Settlers of Catan, where you are vying for limited resources on one of the coolest design boards of any game at any time. And then Philip said, she brought someone back to life after the seance. I actually posted a picture because my wife and I, I do a lot of reference photos for my art. And this is just a funny, like, kind of story about like being an artist, I guess. because like this isn't a normal occurrence. I kind of went to my wife and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy like a skeleton, um, like one of those anatomy skeletons, life size, because they're not like crazy expensive. Like they're a little bit costly, but I have to draw it in so many pages, and it's just a lot easier if I have like actual photo reference. I'm able to stage it and like have models and stuff like that." And my wife is like, "Oh, my sister, who also her sister is an artist. She's like, oh, she has a skeleton in her car, like in the trunk. So just we can just use that one." So then we're like kind of piecing together this skeleton model, um, that like is pretty beat up, that she got on discount at Art Supply Warehouse when she used to work there, because it was like had broken parts and stuff. So we're like duct taping the pieces of a skeleton together and then taking photo reference where like one of us is holding up this heavy, skeleton in different poses and stuff. And I was just thinking, like, if the neighbors, like looked through the window and just saw, two people like duct taping a skeleton, like they made it. Like, I don't think my neighbors even know I'm an artist or that my wife is an artist. So it's like that I don't know. What would you think if you like looked out your window and you just noticed like two people like duct taping a skeleton and like propping it up and stuff, like in a house, and like carrying it around and taking pictures of it and stuff. And it's a pretty, real looking skeleton. I just think being an artist is one of those things where if somebody ever observed your life without knowing you're an artist, they would think you're like a serial killer or a lunatic. Um, and then it doesn't help that the skeleton's actually a real skeleton too. I'm joking. Okay. So anyhow, that was my bad joke for the day. All right, we got Ronnie Gunter here. I love it. Ronnie's here. How's it going, Ronnie? How goes the channel, buddy? Ronnie is awesome. Crimson Owl Comics. He does Comics de la Muerte, which is a horror YouTube channel, and it's very good. And I encourage you guys to check it out. Frank said, I have a skeleton somewhere. I won't be answering questions on where I got it and why it's very dingy. Are there skeletons in your closet, Frank? Is that what you're trying to say? And then we've got Corey says, where does one purchase a real skeleton? Asking for a friend. I know there's a lot of controversy about that. I know that it's an interesting thing because a lot of the real skeletons, like there was one at Cal State Long Beach, but a lot of the real skeletons that you see in like biology labs and on school campuses, kind of like the cadavers and stuff that are in, like anatomy and biology classes and stuff, for like medical training, a lot of those are donated by people. Like, so people will consciously say, like, I think at the art program, maybe I'm crazy, but I think I heard a story that a former art student at Cal State Long Beach had said, I want to donate, like, when I die, I want my skeleton to go to Cal State Long Beach, which is kind of crazy. So it had like a name. The skeleton kind of hung out in our grad studio. And for all I know, maybe that was just like a meme and it wasn't real, but it sure looked real. And a lot of times, like when you have real skeletons, it's done that way. There's a real controversy about skeletons for art that came up during Body Worlds, where, I don't know if you guys have heard of Body Worlds, but that's like this show where it was like actual, like this guy had figured out this way to like plasticize blood and like make like human bodies like and bodies like kind of like not decay so they could be on like exhibit. And then he'd do these weird things like, you know, show all these cool, just like insane visions of like the anatomy. And it was a stunning show. Like I actually went to it. But I remember after going to it, kind of reading a couple articles where I was like, I don't know if I'd go to that again because the guy behind it, there were questions of like how he acquired some of the bodies because it wasn't like I guess it looked like some of them were kind of like him buying from third world countries where he's like, I need a woman pregnant in her first trimester. And then he would just have it delivered. And it's like, so, I mean, again, that could be a rumor too, but it's like, it was enough to make me uncomfortable enough to never really go to that thing again. But as an artist, it was really fascinating because they had, you know, like the entire nervous system. Yeah, my wife is loving this discussion. In the background, she's just like, ew, yuck, yuck. Okay, let's talk about Risk instead, guys. I want to know how many people in the chats have played Risk and what do you think about Risk the game? And would you be interested in me live streaming whilst I play said game on breaks? And again, as I'm doing this, as I'm chatting, what we're doing is we're trying to establish that there is light. I might darken the back of the skeleton a little more to make this more clear, but we're trying to establish the light source that's coming from the windows. And I actually made a mistake here, which I will correct, because the windows, I don't know why I darkened them. Like those should be the brightest light source on the page. What is going on here? And then we've got, yeah, skeletons, Risk. So, oh, here we go. So we got Gaz saying he saw that twice. I hated it, LOL. And then Frank was saying you can dig one up pretty cheap, but and then Frank said in Return of the Living Dead, there's a line that all the skeletons come from India, and one of the characters said he thinks there's a skeleton from Funny Thing after that movie came out. I don't understand that. Oh, there thinks there's a skeleton farm. Okay. Gaz said, I saw that twice. I think he's talking about the body worlds, and he said it made me kind of sick, literally. The channel is growing and the comic is coming along right now. Oh, this is Ronnie. Right now I'm dealing with stupid stuff from work. I'll text you in private chat. Got it. And then he said that okay, and then we've got Frank saying no more skeletons from India, but this was the DVD commentary from Return of the Living Dead, so I don't know how true it is. Gaz said, I used to like it, don't have the time and patience for it anymore. Regarding Risk, Frank said, I played Risk once with my ex-wife. I think that says it all. Frank is on fire today with the zingers. I love it. Jim said, good to see you back, buddy. I'll be home in about 2,530 minutes. If you're still on, I'll pop on. Nice. I'll see you in 2,530 minutes. Oh, let me show you this. I'll be back home in about 2,530 minutes. If you're still on, I'll pop on. I thought Jim was just doing a bit there, but he just forgot the dash. This is why we need editors, you guys. This is why I am glad to have an editor who's going to look at my comic because I could make that mistake where I could be like writing in my book 2,530 minutes later, and people will be like, that's a pretty long time, dude. Okay, 25 to 30 minutes. And then, yeah, Gaz was saying, yeah, he was talking about Bodyworks. And then Christopher said, seriously, look it up. Risk Legacy is mind-blowing. And then Philip said, I just started singing that song from Rent. Nice. All right. Had a little bit more of my Golden Road mango cart. Golden Road isn't like too far away too. It's a pretty good brewery. And it's funny because a lot of people like I forget who the distributor is now because it's like everywhere. I don't know if you guys have it in your area, but it's like all over California. At like Walmart, like it's just at basic stuff, but it's still like a legit microbrewery, and I don't feel like the flavors really changed much since they got like their big distribution deal. Which is strange. You expect it to become like kind of like Hormel chili or something. Where it's like, you know, nobody hates Hormel chili, but like people who are really into chili are like, it's kind of, you know, it's like art too. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Okay, this is going to tie into beer and art and all sorts of things. There are go-to beers, right? Like, you know, that are just mainstream beers that aren't bad. Like they're probably harder to brew. By the way, that's my dogs. I'll let them get it out of their system. I'm guessing somebody is daring to walk by our house. I'm guessing that maybe a neighbor had the tenacity to go outside of their house to open their door, or a dog had the tenacity to bark. That's what my dogs are thinking. They're like, how dare you? How dare you, sir? If I were doing a short movie or something, there would be like a sub caption as they speak saying, how dare you, sir? I challenge you to a duel. All right. So anyhow, now I've lost track of where I was at. Oh, yeah. So we were going to talk about like Hormel chili and watery beers. So like I've heard this from people, like there are people who I know who've like brewed beer. Or I shouldn't say people I know. It's like I've talked to owners of like microbreweries. And I remember at one point I was saying like, this is so much better. Like, you know, I think I made the false assumption that because like their IPAs and like these really great drinks that they make at this microbrewery are like better in my opinion. And they have more distinction to them. I was like, this must be like a lot easier to brew. And he basically told me it wasn't. That like actually to make a beer that's kind of like Miller Lite or something like that is actually harder, because you're trying to make something that appeals to everyone. And so, you know, to make something that's not distinct that appeals to a general audience and stuff is actually harder, but it creates a more kind of bland, boring beer. And it's like that's the same that I've heard from people who make chili. Like Hormel chili is like to make chili at home, like in a pot or whatever, that's as like bland and kind of generalized as Hormel chili is actually really hard. Like that would be harder to do than make like some crazy awesome like spicy chili that's like chunky and got all sorts of awesomeness to it. So it's like the custom chili is actually easier to make than the chili that like appeals to everybody. How this ties into art. This is my long-winded thing. I've talked about dead bodies, chili, cheap beer. We're on a roll today, guys. But one of the reasons I bring this up is because I think in my personality, I like the custom stuff. And when you try to make art that just appeals to everybody, you're making something without distinction or flavor. And so, yeah, you can make something okay, but it's like you're not going to make something great. Like something great has distinction and flavor to it that other things don't have. Boom, there we go. That's the connection. And then Frank said Hormel chili is a good base. Nice. Is that your home base or just like first base? Or I'm just kidding. Okay. Gaz actually makes a good point here about Hormel, though. He said it's my chili of choice because they make a vegetarian one. This is true. The veggie chili's not bad. Yeah. Have you ever had like Trader Joe's has the best veggie chili? It's like their brand chili. Their veggie chili is like my wife and I were obsessed with it for like 2 years. Back when she was a vegetarian. Oh, nice. And then Frank said, it's my ace of base. Nice. Frank, I am so glad you're my mod. Gaz said, no, it is spicy though, and I can't do anything past mild. Oh, okay. I'm one of those people who like, I used to be not into spice, and as I've gotten older, I've turned into a bit of a fan of spice, especially like Mexican food. Like spicy Mexican food is so good. I might be filled with regret after eating it, but I like it. But then again, I know people who are like hardcore into spice. Like they like, you know, the kind of peppery spices that'll like kind of burn the inside of your mouth and make you feel like you're having a heart attack. And that's where I draw the line on spice. I'm like, I like a little zing to it. I like some spice, but I also don't like not tasting anything of the food and feeling like I'm going to die. I feel like that's where I draw the line. I almost wonder if people who are like into the insane hot stuff, if like that's almost like maybe it's like I don't like, for instance, I'm not going to be a person who like parachutes out of a plane anytime in my life. Like I just don't see any joy in that. Like the idea of like free jumping out of a plane, or what's the other thing called, like bungee jumping. It just has no appeal or interest to me. Like I feel like you're testing fate and you're pretty much establishing like that if you like, I never want to do something where if I die doing it, people are just like, yeah, I mean, you know, you did jump out of an airplane. So, you know what I mean? I just never want to be in that position. That's my personality. I like taking like calculated risks, but I don't like testing fate. I wonder if people are like really into spice, like, and I mean, you know, because I like hot food, but like, again, I'm talking about the stuff that like you eat and you're like, it's simulating death. I almost wonder if that's the same kind of mentality or mindset of somebody like being like, yeah, I want to go skydiving. You know, it's like maybe that's like the food version of skydiving. I don't know. If you're out there and you're really into spice, let me know. But I think that. And then Frank said, I agree. If the spice overpowers everything and burns your taste buds off, I don't see the point of not enjoying your food just to prove a point. But then again, maybe it's not to prove a point. Maybe it's like skydiving, where it's like, I survived it, you know? Like I came near death from the heat of this food and I lived to tell the tale. Corey said, skydiving is fun but expensive. Don't go skydiving, Corey. Don't. After the motorcycle thing and everything else in the last few years, do not go skydiving. We don't need you jumping out of a plane. Then again, the thing that would happen if Corey went skydiving, his parachute would go out, but somehow he would survive. That's Corey. Like a horrible thing would happen, but somehow he would live through it. That's all I'm saying. And then Frank said, I'm into the Spice Girls. I can't blame which Spice Girl. You gotta, if you're gonna talk Spice Girls, you gotta drop which Spice. Are you talking sporty, posh? I don't remember the. My wife was pointing out Baby Spice is really the best. So, okay, I need to. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. We're almost at the hour mark, and I will take a little break in about 15 minutes, and we will play a trailer. Oh, look at this. Frank said Baby Spice. And then Christopher said Maple Spice. I don't know if that's code for your Maple gang or yeah. But that is very Maple gang-ish. Corey said, I've been skydiving. It's fun.
That's like a Spice Girl who's dressed in like winter boots, but wearing a short skirt and like a lumberjack shirt.
Yeah, I could see that. Like Maple Spice would definitely be like the Spice Girl that does the cover of the I'm a Lumberjack song by Monty Python. And if you guys are listening to this stream and you haven't seen Monty Python's The Lumberjack song, what are you doing with your life? You need to see this. If you have not witnessed the joys of the Lumberjack song, again, like, stop being on the internet. Like, you need to go, like, pause and just go on YouTube. Like, even if it's during this stream, I like you guys watching my stream, but if you haven't watched the Lumberjack song by Monty Python, like, yeah, go watch. I will not be offended, and then come back and let me know in the chats. But I'm guessing most people who watch my stream have seen it. But I'm serious. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Come back. It's a very short bit. One of the best pieces of comedy. Monty Python all day would be fun. Oh, yeah. My wife was saying the mailman sketch is her favorite Monty Python one, which I love too. The Milkman. Which is like, so I'll describe that one. I can't describe the Lumberjack one and have it be funny. But I'll describe the Milkman bit in a second. Gaz says, get off the internet, go to YouTube, LOL. Yeah, it's kind of hard, like, if you're getting off the internet and going on YouTube. I'd say one or the other, like, because if you're not going to check out Monty Python, you should either not be online or you should, like, check out Monty Python. So let's see. We've got okay, so I'm going to describe the Milkman bit for anyone who hasn't seen it. So you have this, like, milkman, very kind of gangly, awkward looking guy, knocks on the door. He's got, like, the old school milk bottles. He's like a milk delivery guy. And he knocks on the door of a house only to be answered by, like, a vixen who is dressed in, like, scantily clad clothes, shows their leg, and does the, like a very suggestive, like, come in the house kind of thing. She doesn't say a word. The milkman kind of looks around. He's like, oh man, no one's looking. I guess I'll follow this lady in. she slowly, like while doing this and kind of revealing parts of her body, walks up the stairs very slowly, like very suggestively, very alluringly. And the milkman just awkwardly is like, oh man, is this happening? This is amazing. So he follows her up the stairs. And then she ushers him into her bedroom. And he goes in. And then she shuts the door and it locks. And then he turns around and there's a bunch of dead milkmen, which is... Well, there's old milkmen, but there's also dead milkmen, which is where the dead milkman's name came from. And it says the room was full of milkmen, and that's the milkman bit. It's one of my favorites. It is great, but it has like a lot of like romantic music in it as well. For 3 minutes, there will be no one watching on stream, said Frank. Yeah, I wonder if everyone either will leave and just be like, screw this guy telling me what to watch, or they'll leave and actually watch the Lumberjack song. Or they've already seen the Lumberjack song and they're just like, this cocky... Yeah. All right, so we're working on her hair. Philip said, the first Monty Python skit I ever saw was the golfing sketch when it aired in the late 70s. It was banned from TV after that for years. Yeah, Monty Python, I don't know. It's great. They used to play on... when I first found Monty Python, it was PBS used to rerun Flying Circus episodes. And like most people I knew, like they found out about Monty Python from Holy Grail, you know, which is like the penultimate, you know, Python movie or whatever. But for me, yeah, it was just this weird thing that would come on PBS like super late at night and was just hilarious. And then I think at some point, of course, I stumbled upon Holy Grail and Life of Brian and all the other great stuff. But initially it was just seeing the sketches, a lot of the classics too, like, you know, the parrot sketch for sure. The Ministry of Silly Walks, like all those classic ones, you know. The cheese shop is one of my favorite bits too. Oh yeah, my wife reminded me of one of my other favorites, which is Hell's Grannies. That's amazing. They're also good. Philip said everyone was getting hit by the golf balls and losing limbs. There was a lot of blood. That's awesome. We're making pretty good progress. We got about 7 minutes till I will play a little clip on YouTube. My wife said, who knew golf was such a violent sport? How's everybody doing? How are you guys doing? I still want to get into why I like Risk so much, though. And why it's been really fascinating and kind of applicable to things. Think like it helps me think tactically about things, which is kind of neat. Dead bishops on the landing. I love it. So Risk, the thing I like about Risk, the game, Risk Global Domination is the game I've been playing, is, you know, the first time somebody plays, they tend to think that the best strategy is just to like be super aggressive and just start taking people out whenever you can, as quickly as you can, take territory, take. Let's monopoly strategy this, like a Monopoly game where there's a couple things. The other thing. Well, I'm not going to give away my strategies. I'm just talking about some of the stuff I've learned from Risk. So, but the strategies aren't that crazy. It's just, so there's an interesting thing that you'll see with more seasoned players. So the younger players, like people who've never played or they just picked up the app, they'll usually like mow through all of their troops really quickly. Or players who played the board game before, but haven't played, with like these, and the interesting thing about this game is like you're playing against like grandmasters, like people who are like a chess grandmaster version of Risk. And so there's things that like everyone knows that actually become a weakness. So like one of them is Australia. Young players want Australia because Australia is easy to defend. And you can just, you can basically like rack up a crap load of troops on Australia, kind of turtle strategy it, just kind of stay like right above Australia and just hang there and hope everybody kills each other. The problem is newer players will try to secure Australia super early. So you have 10 or, if you're playing a 6-player game, there's usually 2 players. If you're playing with new people, 2 players will battle to the death for Australia because it's the one continent that only needs 1 point of defense. And then they'll both have like 2 troops guarding it. And, at most they'll last like 2 or 3 turns and they'll get completely annihilated by a much more powerful player who chose, I'm going to wait for Australia or screw Australia because everyone wants Australia. So that's one thing that's interesting. The other is, you have to make friends. Like you can't just be a jerk. Like if you're a jerk and you don't let people move their troops through and help them, it's like it's basically like being a neighbor. Like if you're going to be a neighbor with somebody that you're eventually going to have to kill in this game, you still need to be cool to your neighbor. Till you guys are ready to completely annihilate each other, you need to get along. Otherwise, neither of you is going to survive. And so it's kind of like Hunger Games a little bit. But it's also a little bit of global politics because you want to make alliances and you want to honor those alliances almost to the point, but not to the point of death. So you honor your alliances. You're nice to the people around you. And this is where it really becomes important because all the other tactics, like being super aggressive, taking as much territory as you can as quickly as you can, securing as many continents as quickly as you can, those strategies work okay at the beginning, but towards the end game, not being a jerk really pays off because the guys that are just needling and antagonizing other players, at the end of the game, when it comes down to like 3 people left, there's one weaker player that has no chance. It usually gets to the point where there's one weaker player who has no chance in hell of winning. However, that player is the decider usually of who's going to win, because that player is going to get to a point where they cannot win and they're either going to suicide by like sending all of their troops against one player, or they're going to just slowly whittle and make it impossible for one of the 2 players to win. And if you've been a jerk and needling that guy the entire game, guess what that guy's going to do when he has to pick between those 2 players, which one he wants to let win? He's going to come at you. Especially if the other guy's been nice, let you through their territory when they need to, let you get your cards, right? Like been a good neighbor. It's like, who are you going to be more mad at? The super powerful good neighbor or the super powerful jerk who's been messing with you the entire game? And so it's an interesting, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I like it. And then Philip said, part of Josh's plan for taking over the world. No, but it's like it is interesting, but it's like the whole kind of speak softly and carry a big stick strategy works real good in Risk. And also don't speak loudly and mess with people when you don't have the power to back it up, right? Like if you don't have the troops, and you're just needling away at like a super powerful player, you're gonna get taken out. Or if you're a super powerful player who like one person can't take out and you're just flexing your muscles all over the place, like people, the whole board, it's just like the board game where people will get pissed at you and team up. And then when you have allies that are all teamed up against you, it's a lot harder to secure a win. So it's been interesting. It's been an interesting game. There's different ways to play different continents. I'm not an expert at it yet, but I am technically an expert at it. Like that's the mode I'm at, but I'm not a master yet. And so I'm like nowhere near as good as a lot of guys. But that's the one thing I've noticed when I watch the guys who know what they're doing. They play slow, strategic, and friendly, and then they kill you. like slow, strategic, friendly, and if they're gonna mess with you, they can take you out. It's kind of interesting. Frank said in Canada, their portion of hell is a skating rink. That's funny. Frank's on fire today. All right, guys, we're at the hour mark. I'm going to go ahead and play a trailer, and I will be right back, and we will continue to do comics. I'm going to be doing this for a while. We might be joined by Jim Lujan in 2,530 minutes. What was the amount? I can't. I don't want to bore you guys and like. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So Jim did say he'll be home in about 2,530 minutes, so he might hop on. And I will see you guys in a bit. Right now, we'll play the trailer for. Oh, let's see. Let's play the trailer. We're gonna play the. I feel bad now. I feel like I'm like. We're gonna play Jim Lujan's trailer since he might be coming on later. Wordzoid, the ad for 2 stories because I haven't seen it in a while, and I'll be right back. Thank you to everybody in the chats and comments section for supporting me and hanging out, and hopefully you guys are getting a lot of art done. I'll be right back.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
I love Jim's voices that he does for his cartoons. And honestly, the fact that Jim went out of his way to make an ad for, speaking of, we are joined by Mr. J. Lutz, Jim Lujan himself. How's it going?
Good. I didn't know you were speaking of. I missed it. I need you to say everything you said that has my name involved.
Oh, nice.
And I need it in writing.
Okay. Yeah, so the gist was that I was very flattered when you made a commercial for my stuff. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. That was It was my pleasure, and I want to tell you welcome back too.
Nice. You have to, if you say welcome back, you know what you have to do.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I
That's
do.
all. That's great.
On behalf of me and Mr. Kubrick, we would like to welcome you back, Cotter.
Is that your drawing? That's an amazing Kubrick.
No, this is a well, it's my writing, but it's my stick. This is my top secret notebook that with my latest project that I'm going to announce on March 1st.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Wait, can you show just the front of that top secret notebook again as an exclusive? An exclusive, you guys, on Joshua Kemble's live stream. We've had Gary Hodges live from a convention, and now we have a look at the secret.
All right, I'll show you a little bit of features on this. I've got Gabe Kaplan, who's many people know as it's Stanley Kubrick. I've got the lovely and legendary Loretta Lynn.
Yes.
We've got Prince Rogers Nelson right here.
Nice.
Right here.
Nice.
The
strict inspiration of oh my gosh, now I'm blanking out.
The Prince of Pomona?
No, you're why am I blanking out on it?
Purple Ron.
Purple Ron, thank you.
Yes, the Prince of Pomona. Yes.
Yes.
And got Mr. Freak Daddy right there.
I love it.
And we've got a lot of blank pages too. But anyways, not all of
those won't be blank for long. Well, you have
not all of it's blank. So, but
a lot of people a lot of people may not realize that like you've done. I mean, hopefully people who've watched this channel do, but it's like the fact that you used to do almost all of your animation art in like sketchbooks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you must have like a stack of
everything before. So when I did an hour-long movie called Counterclockwise in Foreverland, and everything before that, literally everything I did before that was 100% drawn in sketchbooks, and everything after that was kind of a mixture. And now it's just totally digital. Like now, my new sketchbook looks like this, and it's electronic. And
my goodness.
And yeah, and then when the battery runs out, then you're out of business. That's the only downside. But yeah,
I guess the one upside of a sketchbook is you don't have to charge a sketchbook. Like sketchbooks are apocalypse.
You don't have to. I used to charge my sketchbook every night. I used to plug it in. You know, just for the principle of it. Hey, I have an unboxing though. You want to see it?
Oh my goodness. You guys, is this going to be like a water bill? Is it?
What's this?
Oh my goodness.
It's a Danny Fingerman sticker for my computer.
The best lawyer around, you guys.
Yes.
If you guys need legal representation, Danny Fingerman is your man.
Yes. So available at
Finger Danny. Yeah. Oh, that's available at Society 6. Let people know your Society 6 too, because you have awesome.
If you go to society6.com, they just type in Jim Lujan, it'll come out. I want to show you one more thing too. My little logo. I got these. This is the real reason I ordered it, because I have my logo stickers.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, if you go to Society 6 / Jim Lujan. Now suddenly this has become an infomercial for me when I called you up to congratulate you for being back. But yeah,
I know, but infomercials are the best. I mean, like one of my favorites is I sometimes will go down rabbit holes. I don't know if you do this, of like old crappy infomercials. It's amazing. There's like a whole bunch of them all over YouTube. And one of my favorites is it starts with like, it's like, in Japan, people can cut through slices of wood with their hand, and it shows a guy like ha, and then it's like, but using your hand doesn't work very well with food or something, and it's like shows a guy like trying to karate chop like a ham or something, and then it's like that's why this special knife is it's the best. But I just like that it started, like the thing that gets me about it is that it starts with in Japan. like they're like, trust us, we've done our research in Japan.
Speaking of special knives, last night, I don't know if this is supposed to be secret or not. I don't think it is, but I'm going to say it. But guess who I had dinner with last night?
Oh my goodness. I'll give
you one guess. I'll give you one guess, but get it right so I don't have to reveal it. I had dinner with. What's your guess, Josh?
Knives from.
You know him very well.
Oh, Lonnie?
No, that was a good guess, but he's one of the art casters.
Oh,
he's not Corey.
My goodness, why is my brain so dumb? I forgot. Oh yeah, Scott was at Universal Studios, so you guys met for dinner. That's awesome.
I had dinner with Scott Cirkman.
The Cirques.
Yep, and
Team Cirque.
And our lady friends, and my lady friend,
my lady,
and it was really, really cool, and it was really nice seeing him. And don't break into his house right now, because if you do, I'm partially responsible, because he's not there right now.
You're like, his address is.
But if you do break into his house, in the top drawer in the bedroom on the right-hand side, there's some cash that I want.
You're like, look, I'm only asking for a cut. If it happens, I'm not saying it should happen, but I'd like at least 50%.
Yeah, Frank said he's there now, and I believe that. Oh, by the way, Frank had a really funny comment. Well, there's two of them back to back.
He's been rolling with the comments.
Frank said, welcome back, Kemble. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Gazbot said, J-Loops, part of a balanced breakfast.
Yes.
I like that.
I feel like J-Loops should be, like, you do need to work that into one of your, like, there's got to be a scene where somebody's, pouring a bowl of cereal with J-Loops.
J-Loo's the only nickname I've ever had in my life, besides Destructo.
Destructo?
Yeah, it's what my older cousin, he's like 4 years older than me.
Yeah.
So when I was probably 6 or 7, he named me that because he built models, and I played with Star Wars figures, and so I thought his models were like Star Wars figures, and he just would keep me out of his room because he called me Destructo.
So, oh, nice, because you just like
I don't know. I don't think I ever
models.
I didn't break anything. He saw the potential of my destruction.
Well, if there's
which is
one
actually
thing
a really
that
good, that's a really good Black Sabbath album.
Nice. If there's one thing that hasn't changed about Jim Lujan, it's destroying models.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. So, what I'm going to ask you what I asked Gary. What page are you on, sir?
I am on page 67.
Just missed it by 2. Sorry, that was immature.
No, it's good. I am so kind of like not a morning or afternoon person. I'm a night person. So my brain took like that was one of those ones where the pause was my brain going, wait, yeah.
Have you already drawn the jet ski scene yet?
I'm waiting on the jet ski, the Victorian jet ski. The Victorian shark is in the next page, I think.
Okay, very good. And
I seriously might make that version of this book when I'm done with this book. I might have to do that before doing 2 Stories book 2.
The only way
then 2 Stories fans will be like, what is going on? He used to make this like profound, insightful stuff, and now he's doing Victorian sharks and Miami Vice set in Victorian England.
The only way that I could see that being justified is if you had a really, really long prison sentence, and then I would be like, yes, Josh, you have plenty of time to do that. Go.
Have you ever daydreamed about just having a really long prison sentence and not, the daydream, of course, is that you wouldn't have other prisoners to contend with. You would just have all that time and space.
I daydreamed about being trapped because of weather somewhere, like in that kind of a scenario.
Yeah.
Not
so much prison.
Or like in a cabin. That would be better.
Yeah. I like the idea of a cabin.
Yeah.
Then you could, get out your typewriter and talk about all work and no play.
Yes. No.
I love the idea of a Shining with Jim. It's like, I'm just working on my next cartoon.
It's like a happy version. I'm like happy to be there. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, you're all stoked. It's everyone else who loses it and just starts murdering people.
So we talked last night. One of the things that we talked about was I've had to temper my desire. Like, and you talked about this a long time ago. Like we said, we're going to Paris for 2 weeks. You're like, all right, Paris, what a great place to work on my project.
Yeah.
I've had to become better at separating that. And I think in the last few months I have been. But there was a time where it was kind of bad. I was in my head thinking like every vacation had to be like, oh, this would be fun to go there and work on my stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not cool. I mean, it's good once in a while, but not like you got to separate it.
No, and I think it's like, it's this will tie into like Corey's recent videos, which I highly recommend to people. Check out Corey's latest videos. He's talking a lot about kind of like he'd say it better. And Corey, if you want, you can always hop on, dude. But yeah, he's doing the gist is basically like disconnecting from the internet, like kind of experiencing boredom. And like how, he kind of goes over very thoroughly, like how there's a lot of studies and science behind the idea of like, if you're constantly occupying yourself, like you're actually less creative. And I do kind of think that's true because there are I relate to that a lot, Jim, where like I'll get in a grind and it's like, I don't think about, if I like step out and I'm actually gone from the art, then I come back like 10 times stronger. Whereas if I go on vacation or something and then I'm like bringing my art with me, then it's like I'm still kind of like meh, like half throttle when I'm working. But if you like, like I think like even when we did Cambria or whatever, coming back from that, I had like a bunch of energy, and a lot of it was just from like not working on comics for a while, and then you come back and you're like, yes.
When you guys ran into me in the coffee shop that early in the morning, though, I had remember I was working. I had my iPad.
Yeah, that's true. So honestly, if I had my iPad, I probably would have done the same.
So and in Corey, that's a really good point by Corey, except for when I was watching the video and he said, step 1, disconnect from the internet. I turned it off.
Yeah.
I didn't see the rest.
Yeah.
So
like the second he was saying, like you need to get off your phone and off all social media, I like unsubscribed and
I canceled my phone. And no, Corey,
you're like right now I'm actually speaking through a phonograph, like it's like a weird rigged up phonograph / what are those? What was the little
Victrola?
Yeah, the little. Oh, a telegram. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It's like you wired a telegram, a phonograph, and somehow it's broadcasting to the internet.
Yeah. Hey, are you guys getting snow up there?
We got. So this is craziness. The Antelope Valley was totally getting snow like yesterday. Now it's like rainy. Anytime it's like this kind of weather, I feel like we should get a discount in the cost of living in California.
We're not what we paid for.
Yeah, it's like we're not in California. We're not paying crazy rent and like mortgages and stuff like to like have bad weather. What the hell?
Yes, this is what LA is supposed to be: palm trees and sunshine.
Yeah,
and vertical blinds.
Yep, that's true. That's actually what the sky looks like in Los Angeles. I don't know if people are aware of that, but it's literal bands.
Yeah.
Of Like there's stripes in the sky, you guys.
And sometimes people tie their tennis shoes together and they throw them over the bands and they just hang there. It's so. Hey, did Ben go outside in the snow when it was snowing there?
Well, it wasn't. So it didn't stick. So like, and he had school when it was snowing, so like he saw the snow, but I don't think he got the chance to like play in it. We were tempted to kind of it. I don't know if it stuck around, but like toward Newhall, it seemed like it was before Newhall, like Acton. It seemed like it was like really snowing, like So yeah, I don't know, but I will tell you, driving was a freaking nightmare and a half.
Oh yeah,
I think I've mentioned this, but like people who don't live in California may not understand how freaked out Californians get when it rains. It's like when it rains, there's about like 20 million accidents on the side of the road of people because like the second it rains, they're like, I'm gonna speed, I'm gonna slow down. I'm like, people don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, and then you also get the overconfident people in the.
Yeah, they're like hydroplaning all over the place. Nothing's gonna
not
kill
realizing
me.
That an old lady's gonna cut in front of them, and then they're gonna swerve into me, and yeah. But
usually they drive like a big, giant white truck. That's
usually. I mean, just to be safe. Usually, I drive with my lights on strobe, and I have my horn just blaring the whole time. And
nice.
I'm usually going like this out the window, waving.
And the dance music's helpful too with the strobe. So it's like,
it's the whole
and you're like,
experience. So, so are you going to go outside and make a Mud Angel today, or? Oh, Josh, by the way, Mud Angel, great 90s grunge band.
Mud Angel was definitely like they were fundamental to the Seattle scene.
They played with the Screaming Trees.
Yep, Mud Honey totally ripped off their name.
Totally. By the way, another tangent. This week, musically, I was listening to a lot of Alice in Chains this week.
I will tell you, I have had times with Alice in Chains where they just come back.
Yeah.
It's like there's things that don't, in my opinion, hold up too well. Like, and keep in mind, I'm one of the people who like when I've revisited like Dirt or like Alice in Chains, I'm just like, this is brilliant. Like, it's great. Mm-hmm. However, there's stuff about like the production on it that's like so dated to that era, and it's weird because you listen to like Prince or the Pixies or different bands from different eras, and like
listen to Prince or Loretta Lynn or Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick's albums are great. His post-hardcore albums are my favorite.
Just another Kubrick in the Wall. That's a great song.
Kubrick.
So,
but what? Before we go on, I want to. So the Alice in Chains thing, freaking love it. But like the over compression and like heavy reverb is like, it's weird because if I listen to like Pearl Jam or something from the same time, it's like still produced well. But Alice in Chains, I don't know what it is. So brilliant, but production not so great.
I gotta tell you, my favorite Alice in Chains album is one of my top 5 albums of any group of all time.
Nice.
And it's an EP. It came before Dirt. It was called Sap. And Chris Cornell's on it, and Ann Wilson from Heart is on it, and it's just really, it's acoustic. And it came out before Nirvana did Unplugged. So it was, I remember hearing it and thinking, oh my God, this is like, wow, a grunge band, but they're doing kind of an acoustic album.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really bluesy and very down, druggy, just their typical Alice in Chains, but it's acoustic, so it's done really, really well. I don't know, it's my favorite, one of my favorite albums ever. But
that's rad. I think vocally, that's just what, like, I don't know, great band.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, Alice in Chains is good kids music to play.
Have you done like a parody of that though, like with the like hi kind of thing?
Nisa, my vocalist, it does a great like Axl Rose-ish, he does that. So we've done Ozzy. He does Ozzy really, really good too. But I don't think we've done really an Alice in Chains, like a grunge one, really.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be. I could see Neeson doing that, where he'd just be like, all the time.
Neeson does do. Neeson does this He does karaoke. He was doing it live on Instagram like every week for a while. But it's so funny because
he's got to do it on YouTube.
He has these karaoke parties, but at the karaoke party, he's the only one that sings karaoke. So it's kind of like you're going to his house to watch a concert of him do all. And he does every genre, but I know for sure he's done Man in a Box. I remember that. Yeah. And one time Neeson did Rapper's Delight, but he did the whole thing by himself. And he literally almost died. Like, it's so hard. There's so many parts. And so it's an 8-minute song. It's nonstop rapping. By the end of it, he was red and out of breath and like needed oxygen.
Did he have a cape when he did it? He like throws it off. You guys have to pick him up, put the cape back on him.
We're going to put him in a life pod to recharge him because that was hilarious. Yeah. By the way, I hate karaoke. I know people love it, but I hate it. I never. Yeah, I've never, because to me. What did you say, John? I hate it. Yeah, I don't like it. No, me. You hate it? No, I thought you said I do. No. If I'm drunk. Leanne says the caveat: if I'm drunk, then she likes it.
Okay, I agree with Leanne 100%.
Really,
100%.
Yeah, I mean it's different when you're with friends. What I don't like is the Karaoke Ringers, which is also a really good 90s band. But the Karaoke Ringers are the ones that go do karaoke and they're like, okay, like Neeson's story. He said he was doing karaoke. I love telling Neeson stories. He was doing karaoke on Catalina Island. It's a weird sentence. And he said he did his, and he was telling me about all the people that went up. And he said there's one guy went up and he was all Mr. Shy. And then he did Lou Rawls, You'll Never Find, when he got the mic, he said he was all of a sudden super professional. He's like, you'll never find, and people were like, oh, and like this guy like took the trip from Catalina, like from LA to Catalina, and was waiting to do that. Like, he's a ringer, Once in a while you find people like they're just, it's kind of like having like a fight tournament. Like, I want everyone from the crowd, we're gonna pick people to fight, and then one guy's like a professional fighter, and then he wins.
No, I agree with you on that. I love karaoke. I love doing karaoke. I think it's hilarious, but I don't like doing karaoke well. I think that's what ruins karaoke. When karaoke's done excellently, it's like kind of boring because it's like watching a cover band where it's like, okay, that's cool. But like, if it's like somebody doing, Guns N' Roses, Paradise City, who can't hit any note, and just owning it and doing the performance, that's hilarious and amazing.
Oh, do you know what,
and Leanne? I agree with Leanne, like, especially if you've had a few drinks, and you just go wild. It's fun.
Met Leanne, she was singing Paradise City, and she was going, take me down to the very last city where the gas is green.
The very last city? I love it.
The very last. So now when I hear it, take me down to the very last city. I think it's kind of in the title.
It almost makes more sense than Paradise City.
It does, yeah. Yeah. The only karaoke I've ever done, it's weird. It's always been Beatles songs by coincidence.
That doesn't sound like a coincidence to me. Like, it sounds like if you had to karaoke, your like favorite thing ever is the Beatles. So yeah.
Oh, but,
I think we could rock some karaoke. I think we need to get the Artcasters to go do karaoke.
We should call it Garyoke.
Garyoke is even better. That's where you go buy eggs and throw them at Gary Hodges.
I missed Gary's at some convention or something right now, right?
Yeah, it's I forget the name of the convention, but it's a new convention in Arizona, and tables are only like $50 or something.
I think it's called Anti-VaxCon.
Yeah, Anti-VaxCon.
They were going to have it on January 6th, but
so he showed us a live footage of his booth, and it's got like big Q banner, and I mean, he's got his Make America Great Again comics.
It was supposed to be on January 6th, but they were all sick.
They were the January 6th.
January 6th. That's right. That's a good one. That's a good name for a band too. Everything is a good name for a band.
There's too many band ideas. We need to make some of these happen.
I know we're gonna run out.
Let's quit our jobs, Jim, and just go on the road, play music.
So I'm gonna let you go, but before I go, I wanted to tell you, like I said, welcome back.
Thank you.
And do not keep my name out your mouth. So
nice. All right. Well, thanks. It's nice to have another member of New Direction on the show.
Yes. He didn't tell you what the album title is called.
Oh yeah, what was the album title again?
The album title, he's supposed to put it on there. It's supposed to be called Stroke of Luck. But he forgot to put the title on there.
That's perfect. I mean, the song titles
they're pretty bad.
Were pretty bad. I mean,
my
good,
favorite
but
reaction was Dee Dee when she said, "Oh, you boys and your boy humor." Like, yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah. I mean, there's parts of me that have matured since junior high.
Well, that happens when you hit puberty.
Yeah.
In certain parts mature.
That's true. Your body does head in a new direction.
When it's time to change. Anyways. All right. I love you, Josh.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, buddy.
And I'll be watching the rest of this from my own prison.
Yeah. Yeah, Jim's the man in the box. All right.
Leanne says she's super buzzed. She can't talk right now. She's on the ground. So, no, we say goodbye. And Josh, and congratulations. Welcome back. And I'll check you later.
Have fun.
All right, buddy.
Bye. Christopher Runsman said, I stepped away for 2 seconds and some fancy fella shows up on the screen. Hullabaloo. I agree. Jim had invaded the podcast. Did I just call this a podcast? I don't care. The stream. Paul says, hey guys, I'm driving in my car watching YouTube. Awesome. Don't watch, just listen. Paul, because we don't want you to die on the road. Paul Pate, great cartoonist. Yeah. Definitely check out Paul Pate's stuff. And then Jim, check out Jim's channel. If you guys haven't subscribed to Jim Lujan, you're missing out. He is one of the funniest and most individual indie animators around, and I'm honored to have him as a friend. All right, so I am gonna reset a little bit. I'm gonna disappear and play another trailer, and then we will get into panel 2. But I think I'm going to be streaming for a while because my goal, again, is I really want to shade all of this page. So, yeah. And then Christopher said, and then he sings and leaves regarding the fancy fella who showed up on screen. All right. I will be right back. Let's see. We'll play a trailer again. And this one will be, let's see which trailer we should do. We'll do the trailer for Jacob's Apartment. Okay, here it is, and I will be right back. Speak clearly, it seems that only at the seams. right, so that was the trailer for my book, Jacob's Apartment. That was obviously a trailer done before it was released. That book is out and available. If you have the book, one thing you can do to support me would be to go to like your local library or something like that and request that they order a copy. And if you don't already have the book, I recommend picking one up. It's available at fine bookstores everywhere. You can ask your local comic shop to order it. Or if you want to just get it direct, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble if you're not a big fan of Amazon. And a lot of indie bookstores everywhere. So make sure you support it. I appreciate the people who've posted reviews and like talked about it with friends and stuff like that, and watch these streams, because all of that helps support my work. So thanks to you guys. And we're back working on, if you're just tuning in, we are working on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. It's a historical fiction book that is mostly just pure history about Elizabeth Barrett Browning and her delving into the world of spiritualism and seances and stuff like that. And we're at the Brownings' residence on this page, and at Casa Guidi, and they are having a conversation about Robert Browning's skeleton that he has brought into Casa Guidi, and that's what we're working on. So, and we're talking about all sorts of fun stuff. Frank said, if you need a Texan to come on and sing a Canadian theme song about a hobo, I'm available. Currently editing spicy soup. Eating spicy soup. I thought you said editing. And I was like, how do you edit soup? All right. Frank, if you want to hop on, I will send you the link. Because it has been a while. It's been a while. Okay, where is Frank here? I'm sending it through. There we go. Boom. I have sent it through Facebook Messenger. Oh. And I think I sent you the right link. Let me know if that works, Frank. Gaz says, eating or editing spicy soup happens in the throne room an hour later. Nice. What are you guys working on? Let me know in the chats. Gaz, how are you doing, buddy? How goes life? How goes the channel? If you guys are really into kaiju or like vintage toys, if you're into Power Rangers, or if you're just into wholesome, fun, awesome people who do art, make sure you guys are following Gaz on YouTube. Gaz's stuff is really cool. It's really inspirational. The Horror A4, his book, is awesome. It's especially if you're into like I am, you're into like mechs and kaiju and robots fighting monsters. It's or just good art. Like yeah, Gaz is a good guy to follow. Gaz, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had a thing with like some people I knew from college that I hadn't seen in a long time, and one of them is a big fan of like Godzilla and Power Rangers and stuff like that. And I asked them if I just was like realizing they're really involved in that world. So I was like, you know, I know this guy who does like tons of Power Ranger stuff. Like he has a Power Rangers show. He like does art about Power Rangers and stuff like that. And he was like, is his name Gaz? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I already like follow him. I love his work and stuff. And so I thought you'd get a kick out of that, Gaz, that like somebody I knew in college that I hadn't seen in years, you know, who's into Power Rangers was like a super big fan of your stuff. Like, I thought that was cool because I was like, who knew, you know, like it's kind of cool. So Gaz, you're definitely rocking it with, you know, the art you do and stuff like that. But I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Yeah. Gaz was like, "That's amazing that anyone knows me." Not. To me, it wasn't that surprising because this is a guy who goes to all the cons and like goes to all the Power Rangers conventions and stuff like that. I'm sure he's like probably picked up like prints and stuff at your booths and probably follows your work, So if you're treading in the same territory, but it was funny. It was definitely one of those, like, the older I get, the more things like that happen where there's like 2 degrees of like, you think there's 6 degrees of separation, and quite often there's like 2 degrees of separation between people you meet and you befriend and other people. It's very strange. Like Jim is a good example of that. Like anytime I meet another artist from LA, Jim or Javier Hernandez are usually like people that most cartoonists have run into or know. Like it's a really strange thing. So it's funny. It's like it's this small, very interconnected world. And yeah, you guys, that's my rant about that. So, but anyhow, I'd want to know, like, Gaz, if you ever run into somebody who's like a big fan of my stuff, let me know too. But I was like, I have to tell Gaz about that because that's a cool thing. Okay. We have got some progress going on this. We're not quite there, but we're going to power through this, you guys. Let me know what you guys are working on, though. And then Paul said he made it home alive. Working on page 6 of 200 here in a few. Got to get groceries first. Page 6 of 200 of what, Paul? You have to drop what you're working on. And I hope it's what I think it might be. But that's pretty exciting. Page 6 is pretty good too. And then Gaz said, "True, I do sales, but I don't usually see recognition." And then he said, "I know what you mean about the connection nature of life." Yeah. And then you guys, we are joined by a very handsome artist. Hello. How's it going?
Hello.
Yes. You guys, prepare to be serenaded.
Hey, Josh. Hold on, let me,
how you doing, buddy?
Good. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a long I make songs from it.
I love it. Frank, you and I are going to jam before the end of this. Christopher Runciman wants you to tell the viewers who is that beefcake.
Why, that's me, Frank Salazar Art Nation and the Turaco Creative Cast. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram, and also on my Linktree, Turaco Comics. You can find those links in any one of my videos.
I love it. Yeah, and you guys should definitely be following Frank. Frank's the mod of this channel. He has been a supporter and a guest and just a friend of the Artcasters for a long time. And if you guys haven't seen Frank, you're probably not subscribed to my channel. So, but subscribe to Frank's channel, give him support, Turaco Creative Cast, and pick up some Captain Goggles and Captain Courage while you can. While supplies last. Apparently, one of the books is almost sold out.
Yeah, I have 2 copies left. So they're there. But as soon as those sell out, I want to put it on print on demand. But I'm just waiting for everything to be gone so I can just put it up there.
Nice. That's gonna be pretty cool, I think. How is everything? How's how, as corny as it is to ask, how's the weather in Texas? Because right now, I feel ripped off living in California because today it feels like I'm in the middle of Portland, Oregon. And I'm like, I thought we moved from Portland. It feels like Portland is all rainy, and I mean, on one hand, it's kind of cool because it's like anytime it gets rainy, I think of like rained in recess days, and so my creativity, there is something in my subconscious that kicks, and I said subconscious instead of I can't even say that word, but there's something in the back of my brain that's like embedded in me from elementary school, where when it's a rain day, it is a good day for drawing, but I want a discount. I want a refund for living in California. We deserve better weather than this. How's your weather?
It's all right. It was a little kind of brisk, and it was colder than usual maybe a few weeks ago, but it's getting back to normal for Texas, which is extremely hot. but it's been like in the mids, so it's a little bit breezy, but not too bad. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, it is pouring rain here, and it's not a bad day to draw, but yeah, I'm over it. I'm over it, man. So how's life, man? It's been a long time.
Yes, life's all right. It's have my ups and my downs, but it's still hanging in there, still doing stuff.
Nice. What are you
Been
working
on some comics, but like I've had like just thing where I'll do a couple of pages or I'll do some work, and then like I don't want to do anything for a while, and then I hop onto something else, but like I gotta go back and finish what I was doing. So
okay. So like kind of some false starts kind of thing? Or? Yeah, that happens. Is it kind of like, are you sort of like between projects? Is that maybe what's going on, or?
Yeah, I'm in between. There's like a lot of things I want to do, and some things I'd started. But some of those are like personal projects, so I will kind of hop off that for a little bit to work on stuff that's going to generate money, and then hop back. But like sometimes it's getting back into the groove. It's been a hassle. Yeah, I did some drawing today. I just did it for just warm up sketches. I did a Captain Goggles illustration that I'm used as a profile picture.
Nice.
Can
you share it, or?
Yeah, I'll just have to move the. Hold on. I do have one I drew here in my journal the other day.
Nice. Yes. Did you see that? Like, is it called Schlotsky's or something? It's like
Schlotsky's.
Yeah. So you've had two people, I don't think, who saw each other's videos or whatever. Like Scott and I think Adam, like both, and I don't know, was it Adam or you? I think that initially showed that cup.
It was Jeff.
Oh, it was Jeff. Okay, Jeff Lafferty.
Gib on Jeff's channel.
Nice. Okay, so it was, yeah, that's right. So it was Gibran, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Gibran like had originally found this cup. Like this is just for anybody who hasn't seen it. Like from Schlotsky's, that's the restaurant, right? I think.
Yeah, it's a deli.
Okay, so it's like a deli, and they have all these faces on the cup, and there's one that looks like Frank. It's like Captain Goggles, and it's like he even has goggles.
Yeah, he has them. It's kind of like these goggles.
Yeah.
So he has them like this. He's not wearing glasses, but it's almost like this.
Scott is like eating at Schlotsky's, I guess, which is like, there must be one in Arizona or something. And he on the Artcaster is unaware of the other time that this cup's been shown, was like, hey, look, it's Frank. It's like anyhow, so that was funny. Speaking of Jeff, Jeff's been posting some really beautiful pages
on Instagram and Facebook. He's working on a cowboy comic.
It looks so good. Like the pages look so cool. It's like in gray tone, penciled. And if you're familiar with like Jeff's style, it's like remarkable, like just the way they're coming out. So I can't wait to like see. I kind of hope there's more art casts soon, because yeah, I miss him and Jib. So
here's the one I did today.
Nice. I like it.
I left it like that with just black and white, but the coat and the goggles in color. So
I dig it.
it's my goggles.
So Frank, you've seen the Lumberjack song, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen it a few times, and I saw it again when you mentioned it. Like, I'm going to look it up, and I dropped the link. And yeah, it's... I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay.
So, yeah, like, so you've been working on some Captain Goggle stuff, some stuff for money, and then like some personal projects and stuff.
Yeah, cool. I did a pet portrait. It was digital. I did 2 of the same dog, and I charged pretty cheap since I had never done that before. So $20 per picture. But yeah, made $40. So
nice.
I'm thinking that might be something I can like do on the side as well. Just advertise. I'll draw your pet.
I feel like Dee has definitely done some portraits of people's pets and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's not a bad. It's just not a bad route to go. Plus, like, who doesn't like their pets and want a drawing of their pets?
Yeah, I've done some sketch cards. They aren't moving as much, but maybe it'll pick up. But I did Power Rangers.
Nice. We just talked about Power Rangers. Do you think that's interesting? I thought it was fascinating that like Buddy from college was like big fan of Gaz's stuff.
Oh, cool.
Like, I hadn't told him about him. I didn't give him the name. I was just like, oh, there's a guy I know who like does Power Rangers art that you really dig, and he was like, is his name Gaz? And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Anyway. And then Gaz actually just commented on your Power Rangers saying, hey, neat. So,
oh, cool.
It's awesome. I am the wrong person to talk to about Power Rangers because I have no idea anything from that show. I didn't watch it at all. And I just remember like some of the fight sequences were really fun. And I love like Ultraman, so I can kind of see the appeal. But I don't know. There was something about it that never caught my fancy. Although I guess in my hometown, like one of the Rangers killed his roommate with a samurai sword or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about him. I didn't know it was in your town.
Yeah, that was in Lancaster.
That was somewhat recent, right? Like a few years ago.
Yeah. We're. It seems like there's a lot of like I'm forgetting the other guy too, like Aaron Carter or something.
Yes, from the Backstreet Boys. Well, the brother of Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys, Aaron Carter, had his own
yeah.
thing.
So we keep getting in the news as a city for wonderful things. Like, we're really known for
celebrity deaths and murders.
The severed head at the end of 7.
Oh yeah, that's the road there.
Yeah, so that road's here. So there's a lot of great things we're really associated with. The Massacre Church from Kill Bill. Okay. Let's see what else. Just a lot of positive, really positive things. Yeah, we're a prison in a lot of movies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, all positive things, all really optimistic, happy things.
Was that the prison in American Me?
I don't know. I know it's at the end of Say Anything, which actually I do take pride in that because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But at the end of Say Anything, there's a prison scene, and that's our prison out here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So a lot of really great things. Oh, nice. Okay, Gaz knows the lowdown on this because this is the thing. If I'm asking about Power Rangers, it's like Gaz is gonna know. So Gaz said, I'm doing Bat in the Sun Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger right now. And then he also said Ultraman Power Rangers, it's all Tokusatsu man. And then he said Wild Force Red is the guy who killed his roommate in semi self-defense. He just got out of jail. Nice. Okay. What was the other thing? There was a bar that Jean-Claude Van Damme got punched at. That was in the Antelope Valley.
Oh, okay.
All positive things, you know. I'm trying to think of all the negative
Green
things.
Ranger, the actor who played the Green Ranger recently passed away too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was in I think Austin, Texas. I think that's where he was living, in a hotel.
So can you explain Power Rangers? Gaz, if you want to hop in here too and explain to me the appeal of Power Rangers. I mean, beyond the obvious appeal, because I can definitely understand the appeal of it's like corny mech fights with suits and mini scale models, and it's like the appeal of Ultraman. But what's the story? I don't even understand the story, and I saw a few episodes, growing up or whatever, and I just had no idea what's going on. So I need to know the lowdown on the plot. Gaz, if you want to link and you want to sell me on Power Rangers,
I have
be more than
interested. Figures that I got from the Dollar Tree here. Yeah, I think let's see. Well, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was the first time as the Power Rangers in the States that we saw it. There is Zordon and Alpha. Zordon is the giant blue head, and he monitors Earth, or he's in a base, underneath, I believe, a canyon, and in Earth in Angel Grove Valley. And Rita Repulsa, she's the villainess, and she escapes her moon prison.
Wait, you gotta slow down here. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, there's a giant. Yeah, sent a link to Gaz too on Facebook. There's a giant head.
Yes, he's kind of
monitors Earth.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. How you would see the Wizard of Oz, like a big floating head, but he's stuck in this tube.
Okay. And his job is to monitor Earth.
He's just okay. From what I remember, he's kind of he's there and watches over things. He's guards the coins that control the Zords, the Dinozords.
Okay.
And Gaz could probably explain a little bit more eloquently, but
no, I think you're doing an okay job. I think we're being joined by Gaz. I mentioned Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Gaz
I was summoned.
It's like the bat phone where it's like you mention Power Rangers.
There you go. So
somebody mentioned the Spanish Inquisition.
This is what I was working on. This is a specific version of the Green Ranger. So I was just working on the colors of that. But
Gaz, before you get into it too, let everybody know where they can find your work, all that fun stuff.
Oh, in my house, I have boxes of it right over here.
Looks like
So
a rock
basically,
next week.
you're inviting people to your house.
Well, no, but that's where it is. Just Gazbot. I'm on Etsy. I'm on YouTube. Anywhere you look up Gazbot art, you'll find me.
Got it. Okay, so don't go to Gaz's house, you guys. Go to
I prefer you
Gazbot on
didn't.
Etsy. Yeah. Okay, so Gaz, all right, explain Power Rangers to me.
Well, Frank was doing a good job of explaining basically the first season or two, which is Mighty Morphin. That's like that came out in like 93, I think, 92, 93.
Yeah, I surrender.
Have you watched Beyond Mighty Morphin, Frank?
Yes, I think when I stopped watching it consecutively was in space, like after in space, and then later on I tried to get back on some of the other ones, but I did see the Samurai Rangers and Mega Force.
Okay, so
I went back, watched some of the older ones as well. I forget which one it is, but the one where Tommy comes back and he's like the professor and he's
Dino
teaching
Thunder.
the
Right.
Dino Thunder.
Well, and this is what I was going to say. And no disrespect, Frank, but you were kind of explaining what happens in season 1 and season 2, and I don't think that's the answer Josh is looking for. I don't think. I think because why it's still around isn't because people like those first couple seasons and who Zordon was and everything, because it changes every couple of years to a whole.
Yes, and I was gonna get to that. It's an ongoing story, and they're not all set in the same universe, but some are.
Yeah.
And there's crossovers.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite.
Who was the lady? Who was the lady you mentioned? That's like kind of the villain.
Oh, Rita Repulsa.
Okay, so we have the giant head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to follow this. By the way, I don't expect this to be like exquisite, like crazy, complex storytelling because again, I like Ultraman, so I kind of get it. You don't need anything like super crazy.
Well,
I'm
the
just
thing
trying
is,
to understand the premise.
If you've never watched Power Rangers, it's kind of a little bit like Doctor Who or something like that, or James Bond, where you might dislike some seasons and like others and like certain characters. So that's part of the appeal, is that not everyone's going to like it. But if I know your personality, I could recommend a season you might like a little more than another one, or something.
There's a Power Rangers for everyone. If you like cars, there's Power Rangers Turbo.
Oh, Power Rangers Turbo is like Power Rangers with cars or something?
Yeah. It was not one of the more popular seasons at the time.
So is it kind of like Ultraman in the sense that the Rangers themselves are like selected by the floating head guy to like defend the universe or something?
In the first couple seasons, I mean, the mentor, the floating head guy Zordon, he goes away after a few seasons.
Where does he come from, or do they explain it, or is it just
the planet Eltar?
Okay,
and he isn't normally, like, he wasn't born a floating head. It's like he was this alien, and this is a piece of him that's communicating through space and time, and he can't act directly. So these are like his emissaries that he gives power from the morphing grid, and
Okay,
okay.
That's where I wasn't sure, because I know in the movie they kind of explained some of that, but I wasn't sure what was.
They changed it a little bit in the movie, but that's generally it. Is that he was a more regular corporeal being, as you would imagine, but this is the version of him that we get at the beginning of the show. But after In Space, which a lot of people think is like the greatest season ever, because in the beginning it was a mess. The first couple seasons, I kind of don't recommend to anybody that didn't grow up with it or that isn't a completionist, because they were taking this Japanese footage and mixing it with American footage, and there was times they've said, like, we would get this Japanese footage with no translation and no script and just have to film American stuff to make it kind of make sense. And they were making stuff up as they went along. And so there's a lovely charm to it, but it's rough. But by the time they got a few seasons in, they figured it out, and they started connecting, having things go back to previous seasons. And then they got to In Space, which was a new team. It wasn't the started team, but it connected all this stuff, and there was this big uprising, and the whole town came together to defeat evil. And spoilers for people who haven't seen it, Zordon gets killed. And again, big spoilers, he gets killed by the current Red Ranger, the leader of the Power Rangers. He's basically like, kill me, destroy my tube, release my energy, and it's going to purify the evil. And so it's like, it gets kind of heavy all of a sudden after being this like barely put together kid show a few years previously.
Got it. So it is kind of like Doctor Who in that sense, where it kind of gets more like kind of appealing and interesting the further it gets, and like the lore and stuff kind of starts filling itself out.
Yeah, and like Doctor Who, and Doctor Who is aimed at an older audience. I'm not saying same, but like Doctor Who, it's also some seasons are really tight canonically and bring stuff back, and other seasons are like we're ignoring everything that happened before, and this is the first time anyone's ever seen a Power Ranger.
That's interesting. I don't know. It's just interesting to me. I guess it's fascinating because I know so little about it.
Yeah, I'm a weird fan because I got into it. I watched it a little bit when I was like a teenager, but I got into it as an adult, which is odd. Most people don't, and through my friend who my buddy, my co-host Alex, the big dog, we do the show. And so like, I just, at some point a couple of years ago was like, I'm going to watch every season. And there's like 30 seasons. Like it's been on almost nonstop since the 90s. Yeah. And I'm like a season and a half away of accomplishing that goal of having seen every single episode.
Holy crap. So what did you do to accomplish that? Like an episode a day or?
For a while, I was just like, I'd put on like while I was drawing or if I was cleaning, like some of the episodes you can kind of gloss over. They're kind of filler or a season that isn't my favorite. I'm like, it's on, but I don't really, Yeah. But a lot of it, if it's a season I like, I just watch an episode or two a day. They're only like 23 minutes, once you take out the commercials.
Okay, so you can like chip away at that.
You can, but it is it's been a couple years.
Commitment, yeah.
But it's
but that's also like part of fandom, it's like you kind of want to be like, I try to watch everything Star Wars. I still don't think I've gotten through the entire Clone Wars. It's just like that's one of those ones I'll watch in between Star Wars stuff, and I'll watch like 1 or 2 episodes, but it's such a long series.
I've tried Clone Wars, like this is my 3rd time trying to get through it. I quit on it twice before, and a friend of mine gave me a watch list, like skip these episodes, watch this in a different order, and all that kind of stuff. And while it's not a complete view of the Clone Wars, it definitely helped, and I'm on like season 5 now, so
it does get better as it continues too.
Absolutely,
that's definitely one of those series that like at first it's kind of like but then like you like as they start building it and finding their voice, it's like kind of incredible. Yeah,
but with Power Rangers, a lot of it is the legacy too, and like you get actors coming back, like Frank was saying when Tommy, who was the original Green Ranger, who is arguably, I won't say he's the best Ranger, but he's certainly the most popular Ranger because he came back.
Yeah, I remember, when I was a kid and people were watching it, he was like everybody wanted, like if they had a toy, it was like the Green Ranger.
Right. Well, but it goes further because then he turned into the White Ranger. And then when the whole team flipped over, he became the new leader. So he was the Red Zeo Ranger. And then they went to Turbo, the car season, and he was the Red Turbo Ranger. Then he left. Then a few years later, he came back. And instead of being a student, he was a professor, and he was the leader of the team as like he was the mentor. He was the Zordon, but he still became the Black Ranger. So he had 5 helmets. No other actor has ever had that many different suits and helmets than him. And then he came back like 2 more times, and he had a cameo in the movie. He was like the most, not only the most popular to begin with, but he was the most connected with the franchise for the longest time until, just recently, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Why though? Because he was so popular. Like, why wouldn't they keep him? Going. Yeah.
In Megaforce, they had they were building up to this big old battle with all the
super mega
Rangers everywhere. So he's there.
Yeah, I kind of like again. I see
think
the appeal just in that
Rangers.
word.
Like the White Ranger and the Green Ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's over the top, but yeah.
But I mean,
it doesn't make sense because like, well, this guy is this guy and that guy's there and this guy died just the other day. But it's just fun to watch.
Do they still do like the kind of cornier like Japanese style battles, with
it's
like
all of the footage, well, most of the footage is from Japan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the Megazord fights and the monster fights and most of the suit acting when they're like most of that is literally just footage they get from Japan. Then they get the suits and they film some stuff to make it like the story make a little more sense for what they've written here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also interesting because you can watch Super Sentai, which is what it's adapted from, and they'll have the same suits and the same robots, but totally different actors, totally different characters. A good example. I mean, they're all good examples, but the one I always go to, like the first Super Sentai I watched was Zoo Ranger, which is the first season of Mighty Morphin. Those suits that everybody thinks of for Power Rangers was Zoo Ranger. And it was one season that was adapted into like 2.5 seasons here. And here they were teenagers in high school and it was very Saved by the Bell, but there they were like princes and princesses from an ancient time that lived with dinosaurs that were unfrozen to fight a witch. And it's like a whole different show. And most of the seasons are like that. You can watch both and get a completely different show.
Yeah, that's actually kind of rad. I have to say, like, between the kind of 90210 and the other with dinosaurs.
Oh, it's better.
I kind of like the dinosaur version already.
It is better. That season specifically is better. But of course, that was like the first Power Rangers, and a lot.
And then they kind of find their voice, like
but there is an argument to be made that often the Super Sentai version is better, and objectively speaking, there's truth to that. But
then for cheese, like, and I mean in a good way, like an adaptation can be kind of amazing.
Well, I don't compare them. It's like SpaghettiOs to real spaghetti. It's like they're different. They're just different, you know. But there's also something to be said to be able to go to a convention and see the actor in the show versus the Japanese actors, which almost never come over here, and things like that. But no, but it's and for me, I got into
it. Did it kind of grow on you slowly, or was it something that like you like once you kind of approached it, you were like, whoa?
I saw a couple episodes. Again, I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I was a teenager. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And the high school stuff bored me. But when they would when I saw the Dragon Zord, I'm like, that looks like Mechagodzilla. That's awesome,
Yeah.
But I kind of, watched it a little bit here and there and then forgot about it. And then later I have a younger sibling who got into it when it was like the third or fourth season when it was like Zeo. And I remember picking up some toys from KB Toys for cheap just because they looked like cool characters. And I kind of sort of watched it, but not really. And that was it. And for 15, 20 years. And I was at a Comic-Con and they had a figure of the original Green Ranger, like a high-end Japanese SH figure art one. I'm like, that looks so cool just because of the suits. And this was just purely from a toy collecting artist standpoint. I'm like, it's just beautiful looking. I just kind of want it. But I haven't really watched that show. I felt kind of like a fake fan, and I'm like, and I didn't get it. Then I went to a comic store and they had it and I got it. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let me go back and watch it. And I was like, okay, these are kind of hokey. And I started getting into season 3. I'm like, well, Zeo's pretty good. And then by the time I got to In Space, I'm like, okay, that really pulled it together. This is, and then I was in.
That's awesome. That's cool. And I like, to me, again, like, I don't think it's kind of like any Doctor Who fan too, in general, is not going to be expecting everything to be like this exquisite, like perfection work of art. Like it's like, the reason everybody likes the Daleks isn't because they look super threatening and dangerous.
It's the plunger. Okay? People love plumbing.
and I think they've tried to change them a few times, and people get kind of mad because it's like, no, you need the plunger. Like the plunger's the best,
Yeah. And there, like I said, I'm embracing and rejecting the comparison to Doctor Who at the same time because it is a good comparison for the way the show flows.
Yeah,
but it is. I love Power Rangers and I love Doctor Who. Nice. But I don't want anyone to watch Power Rangers expecting the same level of for the age level as Doctor Who.
Well, even the writing level is probably a little different too, because Doctor Who has had some pretty incredible guest writers, and But it's like, I think the reason I was drawing a comparison myself was like, it does sound like because half the appeal of Doctor Who is the kind of corniness. Like people at least I like the corniness. Like I like it to be a little cheesy. I like the effects to be a little bad,
Absolutely,
it's kind of half the fun of it. So but that's interesting. I don't know, it's interesting. I'm gonna have to
I'll say this
at some point.
The other thing is there's a current comic series for Power Rangers put out by Boom. Well, there's like a few different
types. Is this the one that came out like a couple years ago?
It started, I want to say 5 years ago, but it's still ongoing.
I've heard excellent things about that.
It's very good. There's ups and downs, but the writing generally is good. The art is generally good, and this is like the more serious, I hate to use this term, but darker version. And not that it's dark, but it's clearly aimed at adults that like Power Rangers, not kids that like Power Rangers, you know what I mean? It's that I would recommend the comic over the show for someone who's never gotten into it, to be honest.
Nice. That's actually that's kind of cool. It's interesting because it's like sometimes with the properties, like I still haven't checked out the new kind of Ninja Turtles that's been going on.
Like the really new one?
Yeah, with where like a bunch of them get killed off.
Oh, I have not watched.
Oh, the The Last Ronin?
Yeah, The Last Ronin.
Oh no!
People are singing the praises of this thing. Like,
it's pretty great. That I will admit, that's pretty great. But that's not for kids. That's for adults.
Yeah, but like I again, it's like interesting when there's these properties that, like Ninja Turtles didn't start out for kids, but the Ninja Turtles that got huge was generally catered to kids.
Yes.
And so it's interesting seeing these like properties when they're kind of in the comic form, you know, kind of pushing it to like a more serious angle. I've heard that about G.I. Joe too. I've heard there were like some really good runs on G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah,
you know?
My friend got me into G.I. Joe, the Real American Hero comic book when I was a kid, and they have a run going now too by Larry Hama, who's like basically he's not the creator of G.I. Joe, but he's basically the creator of G.I. Joe, like the 80s version that we know, like he's the guy.
Yeah.
And it was, he said that, like, you know, he would bring in new characters or vehicles that were toys, but he didn't really pay attention to the TV show, and they kind of didn't tell him what to do, and he just did what he wanted. And like, you know, it was war. People got shot and died, and like people were brainwashed. And
yeah,
like,
this is before Echo Rays.
Before what?
Echo Rays or whatever from the G.I. Joe movie in the 80s that annoyed the crap out of me. Yeah,
you're talking about the animated movie from the 80s?
Yeah, when they introduced
Cobra Law?
Yeah, when they introduced Serpentor and
what's Echo Rays though? I don't know what that is.
It's like they kind of started shooting these like beams instead of like it being war.
Echo Rays.
Yeah.
Like lasers, Echo Rays. Oh. Well, my recollection in the comic in the cartoon is that they always had red and blue lasers from the very beginning. They never had bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot more interesting when it's like a little more dangerous, and when it's Cobra. I don't like the whole. I didn't like Serpentor and those. What were those guys called? Like the
Cobra Law
dudes.
The ones that were all like snake biological weapons. It's funny though, because I preferred it before that as well. But I do remember as a kid watching that movie on TV. And being I won't say I was scared of Cobra Law because, like, you know, I wasn't like scared of the movie, but I was sort of like scared for the character. So like, how are they gonna fight this? They're shooting, you know, like octopus, and it's knocking down their helicopters. How do you fight an octopus beam? You know, so
and some of the toys were cool. Some of the toys were cool. I remember that too. Like, like they'd start changing color. Like there were a couple of characters that did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Zartan.
Yeah.
I remember not knowing that when I got the Zartana toy, and then I like left it out in the yard, and it was a totally different color, and I was like, I ruined my toy, and then I was like, oh wait, it's supposed to be that.
That's such a gift though to find out. Like, what the heck? Like magic.
I just thought like it had gotten like sun bleached or something. You know,
that's amazing.
Like, what happened here?
I had that.
And Serpentor's like motorcycle thing was really cool too.
As a chariot?
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah. They came out with a new one. As you can see, I collect toys. They have a classified line out now, which is like 6-inch. And the Serpentor, I'll grab it, is fantastic.
All right, you guys. Exclusive on this insane stream. We've gone from a live convention to having animator Jim Lujan. Now we have Gaz showing us exclusive toys. That's actually really incredible.
Yeah. And it's the 6-inch scale, but it's the same basic character, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's fantastic. A lot of my favorite toys. When people come to my house and see my toys, what they'll say is like, "Oh, I had that," and I'm like, "No, you didn't." And I'm not saying it to be a jerk, but like that looks like what we remember it being. Like I have He-Man figures and Star Wars figures, and it's all newish. You know, not like today, but maybe I got it within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And the idea is they're for man children to remind them of what they had. But if you looked at the original Serpentor and this, they don't look anything alike.
Yeah, of course.
It's you remember it. It's like they've made everything cool. Like so, and that's pretty much mainly what my collection is.
That's interesting. Toys have come a long way, and I think for people who didn't grow up when we grew up, it's like. The toys we're nostalgic about were kind of cool, but like they're like the game change that happened when McFarlane Toys started putting out like really crazy like hand painted stuff. It's just like insane. Like where now you get a toy from a movie or whatever, and the face actually looks like the actor.
Right.
Like,
it used to be like a vague skin tone and 2 dots and like,
Or like superheroes where their arms are fully articulated and stuff instead of just like squeezy legs that make them punch. You know, it's like there's a vast difference, you know.
And there's charm to that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like,
I still, you know, I saw like a re-release of those, like the Superman and
Superpowers, like
where it's like you know, they have the actual fabric cape and then the arms that go like this. I still do have a soft spot for those. And I mean, it was cool because it like left a lot more to your imagination as a kid, you know? Where it's like,
well, and really, also it was a time where you couldn't just go on the computer and look up a freeze frame of what the Flash looks like. You just had your memory of the cartoon you saw a week ago. So there was a lot more leeway there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is interesting. The access to everything. I don't know. It's interesting though. Like my son gets he's super into Mario and Sonic and not the games, just like the comics and the stories. It's interesting.
My kid is almost 3.5 now, and we don't let her. She doesn't get a lot of screen time, and
that's good to limit, especially early. You know, that early. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we follow whatever like the doctors say was basically. So like until she was like 1, she didn't get anything, and then at some point she started getting like half hour. Now we let her have up to an hour a day.
Yep.
But also like she self-censors because certain shows we put on, which are like kid shows, she'd get like nervous about. She's very sensitive, you know. So like. But the reason I bring this up is because what you were saying, she's into a lot of stuff that she's never seen. She loves My Little Pony. My office is her playroom. So I'm looking at a castle with a ton of ponies. She's never seen the show. She just has a shirt and she thinks they look cool and we tell them their names. I bought a couple comics that I had to make sure weren't too scary, you know, like, and she loves My Little Pony. One day she's going to find out there's a show and lose her mind, you know, because it's a little too much for her right now. And that's Encanto. She's got all these Mirabelle shirts and she loves Encanto, all the music, never seen the movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird how you do really, as a parent, you start getting a window into how effective, like just some character designs and names are.
Yeah.
Because again, like, you know, my kid, like now he's like really into like, he'll watch like, you know, playthroughs of Mario games and stuff. Right. But he doesn't really play the games. And he got like the old comic like a while ago and loved it. But it's like, it's really just that character and the branding that like has just embedded that in his head. Like it's bizarre.
Has he seen the live action movie with John Leguizamo and I forget who?
No,
Bob Hoskins.
No, we haven't watched that.
You don't need to watch that.
I don't really need him to watch that. I had the disappointment of watching that as a kid. I don't want to put it.
Yeah, I watched it later on, and there's kind of like a nostalgia factor for me. So I do kind of like some of it, but there's stuff like it's. But
I'm curious to watch it just as like a B movie.
Yeah, the gadgets are pretty cool.
As an adult, I think it's a very interesting movie. As like a piece of strange art, like it's very not boring. You know what I mean? But as someone who's like, I want to watch a Super Mario Brothers movie, it's not a Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah. I remember that had about as much disappointment as people who ordered the Power Glove, and you know, it was like a similar level of global disappointment at the time. Paul said thanks for the PR primer. I had no idea. I think he's talking about with kind of Power Rangers. Yeah, because like again, it's always been like a little confusing to me. It's not so much just it's just hard to like, even in this, I'm still kind of trying to understand like, well, what's the basic premise of the story? It's like warriors defending Earth, right? Kind of like
basically,
or something.
Basically.
Okay.
They have themes because like as Frank was saying, there was like the Zordon era and stuff, but like the season before the current team was called Beast Morphers. And it was a government agency was aware of the morphin grid, which is where they all get their powers. Like that's the connective tissue. And they had found a way to harness it. And so there's this like young scientist and he's like, oh, I can splice animal DNA and we could make we'd tap into the morphing grid and we could defend our city and defend the world. But then aliens find out, or I'm sorry, it's a sentient computer virus from another dimension is also aware of the morphing grid. It's like, they're bringing it through. If I could get through this connection they've made into the world, I could take over. So it's them constantly trying to keep them out of our world.
It's kind of like Superhuman Samurai, where all the fighting is in the
the fighting's in the real world. The boss, the evil boss, is stuck in his cyber dimension of evil, whatever they call it.
Okay.
And he sends minions through with his like limited resources, and so then they have to defeat that minion, and he's always trying to take everything over.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I did see what was the one before it, but they had that chick with the hoverboard,
Ninja Steel. Ninja Steel. My least
I
favorite
love the
season.
name of that.
I love the name of that. When that came out, I wanted to like it, and I got some of the stuff for my kids. I got the starfish morpher thing for my kids. Well, I saw some of it. It was all right. They moderned it up a little bit. They had like the YouTuber guys.
And that's part of the fun of a current season, whether you like it or don't like it. Hey, there's toys on the shelves. You could get a T-shirt. It's happening right. That's fun. But that one, the Ninja Steel we're talking about, it was a ninja theme, and they were again high school students, but they all learned ninjutsu and and they were fighting against. And that the bad guy theme was really good in that one, even though like one of my least favorite seasons in general. The bad guy theme was a game show, a reality game show with this like in space, and they would send warriors and fight and film it for like space audiences. So that was
like a reality show.
Yeah. So depending on the season you watch, in addition to having different suits and robots and stuff, who they are and why they're fighting, who they're fighting against can be very different.
Okay, so question. As a toy collector, what's your favorite series of Power Rangers toys?
Having nothing to do with the actual show, but just the designs. And
stuff? Just the toy. Like, what are the most awesome toys?
Oh, that's really hard. Well, I've been collecting. Well, not talking about a season, but the Lightning collection is the current 6-inch. What I was saying, like the made for adults now line of figures. That's what this case is behind me. Now that you can see it that well.
Nice.
That's my current passion. But like Frank, I have some props. I have a morpher. Well, I can show you my favorite thing actually.
Yeah, let's show it. It's kind of awesome.
I have some helmets that I made from paper mache, which I can grab.
This is a helmet that I did not make, that I spent way too much on.
Nice.
This is from
you wear those like you have worn that at a con, right? Like,
we read that.
You know what's funny is I have not worn this.
Oh wow, you haven't.
I have a suit and it's this character, but that helmet is different because I'm afraid to wear this helmet at a con. Because this helmet, I'm not going to say how much I paid, but it was more than $100.
Yeah.
And it's fragile. It's got this chrome plating finish. I've worn it in my house and stuff, but I would be just taking it on and off. I'm always worried I'm going to scratch it. You know what I mean? So, but that's my favorite thing.
Check this one out, guys.
Samurai Gold.
Okay, that's pretty legit, Frank. Though.
See, you get credit for building that. See, I don't. As much as I draw, I don't build anything. That's awesome.
Yeah, I always get amazed by. I'm kind of in the same boat, Gaz, where I'm always amazed by people who can kind of fabricate stuff. Like,
and I've thought about.
Scott's always doing it too, you know.
I've thought about learning to do it, but like, I don't have enough time to work on my 2-dimensional art. I don't need to learn a new. Like,
I'm kind of in a similar boat. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Goodness. You guys were joined by a Power Ranger.
I gotta say too, that's crazy that we both have this helmet, because Samurai is a more recent season and it's not a very popular season. It's not as disliked as some others, but it's not one of the most popular ones. But it happens to be one I like because it's kind of when I got into it. So sentimentally, like when I got back into it as an adult, that's the season I watched.
Me too. When I got more into it, that was the one I was watching.
But most people that are adults are like, that's not that great. There's other better seasons or whatever. But like the sentimental, and I loved Antonio, the Gold Ranger. He had this cocky attitude. And he was really shiny. I love chrome things. He had the chrome helmet and stuff. So the fact that me and him have that is very weird, because you don't meet a lot of people that love the Gold Ranger from Samurai. That's not a common favorite.
That's kind of awesome. It's again, like it's a small world with like small degrees of separation, you know. Totally. That's awesome. That sounds fascinating. So are you You have gone in full costume though, as a ranger.
Twice I have. Yeah.
Nice.
The problem
Was
is
it fun?
well, no.
I love that. No, I like appreciate this about you because there's a lot of people who might just BS and be like, "Oh, it was totally funny," even if it wasn't. And I love that you're so straightforward. You're just like, "Not at all."
Well, I won't say not at all, but I think people that aren't me have more fun doing it.
Yeah.
I don't mind being the center of attention. I love, I've performed on stage in a band like you. I've done improv. Like it's not like that kind of part of it. That I love. Look at me, take a picture of me. Great, here I am. The problem I had is the 2 times I've done it, the place to do it is at a Power Rangers convention. And when I go to those, I'm usually working. I'm usually selling at the booth.
Yeah.
Both times I did it, I had to be like, okay, let me take a break, watch my booth. I'm going to run out to the car, quick, put on this outfit, run around for an hour as fast as I can, take a picture, do it stuff, and get back to my booth. So that's not the most fun. And
have you tried like selling at your booth in cosplay?
The second time I did it was at Power Morphicon, which is the biggest Power Ranger convention. And I had a buddy with me. So afterwards, I kept the whole suit on with the exception of the helmet because you can't really see or speak very well. Like you can't.
Yeah, that would be uncomfortable for a whole con.
So I took there's probably pictures I have somewhere, and it's me at my booth in the full armor, but without the helmet. And people liked it, but also with the gloves, I couldn't really grab things. So like I needed somebody. Mm-hmm. I was at the booth, but I couldn't run the booth. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like
that makes sense.
Yeah. But
have you ever thought about just like having a friend wear the costume at your booth?
So not my costume, baby.
Yeah.
it's not a cheap costume, but it is a fragile costume, and it's also custom made to my size.
Yeah,
so they'd have to be my
height
build. Yeah.
But do you know any people might kind of hang at your booth dressed as Power Rangers? Like I was just thinking about that. Like I would think that would be a draw, to get people there.
Potentially, but I see why you say that.
Might be crowded by people who just want pictures, and
that's possible too. Yeah, that is possible too. And I've given up on hey, if I do X, that'll get people to my booth because every time I think, and you might be right, but every time I think that it doesn't. Like, let me put my camera over here for a second.
No, that's a fair point.
See that big standee of the horror of my character?
I love that standee.
Yeah. I love it too. And it was in the garage. I'm not so self-obsessed that I need to look at my art all the time. I just had to move it somewhere. But anyway,
sure.
When I got that,
I have to look at my art. Where is it?
If anybody knows me at all, I hate looking at my art. but I love my art, and I think a lot of artists can relate to this. I love it right now. And maybe for a day, maybe for a week, but at some point I hate it. And that's a couple of years old. So I hate it. But I got that, and I got it more than 6 feet tall. I think I figured 7 or 8 on I want it to be taller than anybody that stands next to it reasonably. And I'll put it next to my booth. And even people that aren't interested in my comic will come by and take a picture with the big monster because that's the stuff I do. Never. It was just a thing. I brought it to a bunch of shows, and it's just sort of in the way, and it gives me less room to display things, and like not one person took a picture with it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. All right, Josh, I sent you a link of something I did a few years ago for my son's birthday. You'll see it as soon as you see the thumbnail. You can show it if you want, but the Power Ranger theme is there. So
on Facebook?
Yes, on Facebook Messenger.
Okay. The video?
Yeah.
Okay, can you add it in chat? Because I don't know how to watch that on stream.
Okay. No problem. I can.
Sorry. But put the link in the chats. This is Frank. If you guys are watching this, the chat plays after too. So if you guys want to check out Frank rocking some cosplay.
Let me just go back to the channel.
Awesome. And then you guys, I've been going for about 2.5 hours, so I'm going to take a wee break and grab a drink. So I'm
gonna hop off. I gotta go get dinner ready.
Yeah,
but thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. That was awesome.
You know what? I gotta say one thing. One thing that Josh has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about. It has to do with comics. And I could be wrong. This is a weird thing that's been on my chest that I want to get off my chest. It's a positive thing, hopefully. Like a year ago or whatever, I got your comic. Oh my gosh, what's the name of your comic?
Jacob's Apartment or 2 Stories?
2 Stories, thank you. I got book 1 of 2 stories. Eagerly anticipating book 2. I liked it a lot. I liked the art, I liked the story. It was very, very good. Not as like I know you, but like I recommended it to other people.
Awesome.
When I read it though, I remember posting on Instagram and everywhere else, and I had read like these are the last 3 books I read, or the last 4 books or whatever, and yours was one of them. And then for whatever reason, I said something like, "Oh, and random or like here's my grades," and I was like A, C, B, D, whatever, but in random order. But if you didn't read it in random order, I think I gave it like a C-.
Oh, okay.
And I always worried that you thought I gave it a C- when in fact I forget if it was a B+ or an A, but it was a good mark.
Oh, okay.
And I've always been like, I hope he didn't think I thought it was worse than average when I thought it was way above average.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. I honestly I didn't notice. This is how and I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just like I didn't notice the grade. I did notice you post it, but
that's fine. That's fine. And this is like
this is us as artists. We over.
I wrote it in my journal as soon as it came out, so I can. Casbah.
I wrote it down in my journal so I wouldn't have to remember. I love it.
Well, good. I'm glad you didn't notice because I worried that you not that you would like hate my guts or something. I know you're not that kind of guy, but I didn't want you. If I gave it a C, then fine, I got a C. But I didn't. It was a good book with a high grade.
Well, I appreciate the endorsement too. That's cool. Thank you. Thanks for hopping on and thanks for defending the Power Rangers. You are holding true. Also, if people like Power Rangers or they were interested in this, where can they check out your show about Power Rangers? And also your YouTube channel and
well, like I said, Gazbot is where you could find me on most things. I'm on Etsy. I have Gazbot art there and whatever. I do have a second. The Gazbot channel is my art channel. I have a second channel called Action Activate. That's the name of the show. Me and my co-host Alex the Big Dog have a show at least once a week, sometimes more. We're currently watching not Mystic, Mystic Force. We're currently watching Mystic Force episode by episode. We'll be doing Cosmic Fury when that comes back, and then we have interviews and things like that too. So.
Awesome, thanks. And if you guys like if you guys like Power Rangers or anything like that, you should definitely check out Gaz's stuff because he is like making a lot of mechs, a lot of cool stuff like that. And honestly, if you like indie stuff, pick up the Horror A4 because you're insane if you haven't yet. All right,
Gaz. Before you go, I found on eBay, but the old Play-Doh set where you put the Play-Doh and make the modes of the.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have them in my closet. I don't know what to do because I don't have Play-Doh, but I have them there. Like I want to make something with them.
Buy Play-Doh. It's not expensive. Buy Play-Doh.
That's true. Play-Doh's like 50 cents, man. Yeah. Get the Play-Doh. Rock it.
Well, I want to make it like something stiff where it'll stay like that, and then I can just have it.
That's what she said. All right.
Nice.
See you later, Josh. See you later.
And then Paul Pate said, "First time I've seen Gaz. What a riot! Right, Gaz is awesome. Gaz is a friend of our.
I dropped the link in the chat. So check it.
All right. I'm gonna go. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Take it easy. And with that, I'm gonna Frank. Do you want to do a pitch while I'm gone, or do you want me to play a trailer so you can take a little break too? Or
I'll do a pitch.
Okay, cool. So you guys. Frank will handle the show. I'll be back in about a minute. Okay. Bye.
All right, guys. This is Frank Salazar, Salazar Art Nation. If you want to check out my stuff, Salazar Art Nation on YouTube. I also have my Instagram. I post up there. I'm starting to post more on Facebook as well. And if you like when I interview people, I have the Truckle Creative Cast with my co-host Anna Rob. Right now, it's just mostly me, but there is some stuff up there, so you can go check it out. Check out some past interviews. There might be stuff you like, might be stuff you don't like, but check it out. If there are links to the Truckle comics, I have 2 copies left, and as soon as those sell out, I want to put them on print on demand. So, you're gonna buy the last 2. I have a special bundle for $40. You get a pretty good, you get some pretty good stuff there in that bundle. But check it out.
All right. Well, this has been fun so far. It's fun having everybody stop by and support. It's fun to come back to streaming and have some support while doing it. I'm having another beer and I'm gonna work on panel 3. Yeah, fun stuff. What are you working on right now?
I was just doing a sketch. It's another character that's me. and I've kind of been playing around with maybe like a Western version of Captain Goggles. So I might make it where it's like a relative of Captain Goggles from the Old West, or like because that's like a other world futuristic type of place, so like their version of the Old West.
Nice.
Or where it's
kind of like Gunslinger Spawn or something.
Something like that. Yeah. So something like that. It's just a design I've been working on. So I might do a little short story, where maybe like just just showing some goggles from the past or stuff like that. But I came up with this character, which was just me wearing my cowboy hats with goggles on my hat. Actually, I think I did do a.
I like that idea. I like that idea for a story too, because like it would be interesting if it was like kind of like almost like this long history of like the goggles or something. Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Like a family history type of thing. I could hear. In this version, I gave him some hair, but kind of looks like Burt Reynolds. But
nice. That's cool. It's funny after seeing Jeff's like cowboy stuff. It's like. It's reminded me so much of just like how cool like Westerns are, and like I don't know, it's really fun to see.
Which is why, like, man, I want to do something Westerny and be seeing Jeff's stuff.
Yeah. I had a similar thing where I was like, if I wasn't working on something right now, I'd probably be trying to draw some Western stuff, And
I did this on this foam board. So on the back, it's double-sided.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. You did that with, was that like whiteout?
No, this is jelly rolls and a white Prisma color pencil that Didi sent me. And I had this foam board, and I just cut it to a card size. And like, I want to do something with this. And I just sketched Matt Schoolman one day, and like, yeah.
Dude, those white jelly roll things are amazing. Like, yeah. The gel pens are like really kind of interesting. I've used those before for stuff. The only thing I will warn you about white gel pens, though, like they're pretty cool if you need to add some like little white details. They're really hard to like. It doesn't take ink over it very well. That's just a warning if anybody's playing with it. With white gel pens. I have also messed with where is it? This is pretty cool. I've used this a little bit. It's like a white brush pen. I got it at like Art Supply Warehouse. It's
I have one here too.
White brush pen. Yeah.
Well, it's the watercolor one. So you put the water.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get more stuff. I have a Posco pen, a white one that Didi sent me as well.
Oh, nice.
She sent me
Posco. You got to explain.
These are really nice markers. It's almost like it's more painty. Like they kind of come out almost like white out a little bit better, but they have a nice texture. I want to get more where it's like more of the colors, but I like this white one when I'm doing stuff stuff like this, where I need the white to pop out a little bit more. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. I am gonna probably go for like till about 5, and then I will probably break just to have like some dinner and stuff.
Okay.
But if you're down to hang out, I appreciate you hanging. So how are things in Texas? Like, how's everything been? Have you seen any good movies or anything crazy lately? Or
let's see.
Any new music? Any interesting Backstreet Boys info that we?
Let's see. Not lately. I have been getting more into, and it's not won't be a surprise to anyone, but more Canadian shows. So Phil and Chris. Well, I've been into them, so I knew about them. But there's an old show. It's kind of like the Canadian Lassie. called The Littlest Hobo. So I've been watching those episodes on YouTube.
Wait,
and
what? Wait, you gotta explain. The Littlest Hobo. What is this?
Yes, so it's this German Shepherd that goes from town to town, and kind of like helping out people. And so it's like an anthology show. It's I like to think of it kind of like the old school Incredible Hulk, where Bill Bixby's just a drifter.
Yeah.
And while he's there, like he helps people, but the Hulk comes out. Well, like the dog doesn't turn into a Hulk, but like he'll solve a crime or he'll rescue.
Is
like
it live action?
It's live action.
Okay, so it's kind of like Flipper, or like with a dog, or Benji. Like there was a show back in the day. Oh my gosh, that's awesome! It's like the Canadian version, huh?
Yeah, and it has this really cool theme song that's really catchy. So I've been singing it more. So I did do a video on my channel where I'm trying to draw like a rendition of The Littlest Hobo, and I'm singing the theme song, but I don't really explain what it is that I'm singing. The whole video is just me singing it and just a time lapse of me drawing.
I love it.
So I had to put in the comments like it's a Canadian TV show. I think I have the drawing.
That's awesome.
Also, I have the drawing here. I don't think I did it justice, but it's.
I feel bad for my Canadian counterparts, because we got Christopher Runtsman and Philip Chandler and like a lot of friends in Canada. And it's like, I feel bad because like we had a Canadian guest the other day on Artcaster, and off air, he said he was from Vancouver, and I was like, oh, Vancouver's beautiful. Like I was just there, and I went on this whole tangent about how great TCAF was, and it was just cut with, dude, that's Toronto.
Oh yeah, Toronto.
And I was like, I am such a moron when it comes to. It's funny. I'm playing Risk, which is all about like taking over a geography, and if I were playing that in real life, I would be taking over the wrong areas because I don't understand geography at all. So, anyhow, I thought my Canadian friends would get a kick out of that, because that's kind of like if you're talking to somebody from the U.S. in California, and you're like, man, the last time I was in California, it was great. I visited the Statue of Liberty. I was, and you're like, dude, that's New York. Anyhow, so yeah. Anything interesting going on in Texas? How's the Texan area going?
It's good. I mean, I haven't seen anything bad going on lately.
I always think of Texas as it starts getting closer and closer to May, just because of the whole Mayfest thing in Fort Worth. It'd be fun.
I've never been to one. I have a brother that lives near there. He's in Dallas. That lives near. Well, he's around that area. It's like when you just of Canada. It's like I just think of it all as the same thing, but but he told me like no, Fort Worth is like farther. Like okay.
Oh yeah.
So I forget where he is exactly, but it's like a little sub-region.
Like how often, Frank, when you're talking to somebody who doesn't live in Texas, do they go like, "Have you been to the Alamo?" Like, how often do you go to the Alamo? And you're like,
I've had mostly usually online, but yeah, like, I've been there once.
I went there as a kid. It was awesome.
Yeah, I went there as an adult because I wanted to go. Like, I want to go at least once. Like, I hear so much about the Alamo, and I like the Davy Crockett show. Like, I want to go one time. So I went and I bought the Davy Crockett hat, which I gave to one of my sons, and I think they lost it. So I ended up buying one for myself, which now I don't even know where it is. But but I have my Davy Crockett jacket that I got at a thrift store.
Nice. Fringes?
Mm-hmm. I wear that with the cowboy hat.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I wear that with the cowboy hat that I have, and I've been wearing it a little bit more frequently. So yeah.
Nice. Have you ever seen Pirates of Penzance, Frank?
I've heard the name. I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, it's like a classic, just comedy musical, and there's a a movie that was made with like Kevin Kline that's really good. Like it's hilarious.
Okay.
I think you'd dig it. But there's a bit in it because the Pirates of Penzance have this like code of ethics where they won't attack a ship if the owner of the ship is an orphan.
Okay.
And so like people find this out, and so like everyone they attack just happens to say they're an orphan. So there's this guy who says like, I'm an orphan, you can't attack me. And they're like, when you say orphan, do you mean orphan frequently or orphan? And this is like an ongoing bit throughout the whole thing where they keep thinking when the person says orphan, they're saying often. So anyhow, you said it often, and I was that made me think of Pirates of Penzance.
Oh, okay.
So I was gonna say, when you say often, do you mean orphan or do you mean often frequently? Yeah. Sorry, that was a very long-winded way of explaining my brain.
I was expecting like, and one of them wears a Davy Crockett jacket.
No, it was just the fact that you said often, and I thought when you say often,
I've been. I don't know if you ever saw Boy Meets World. I used to watch it as a kid, and I loved it. So there's a Boy Meets World podcast
Boy Meets World. Wait. Is that the show that isn't there like
Ben
a
Savage.
butler or something?
No, that's I think Fresh Prince, and there's also I think Belvedere. But,
Okay, so I'm thinking Mr. Bell. So what was Boy Meets World? Because I don't
so
remember.
Boy Meets World is Fred Savage's little brother, Ben Savage, and so
hi Philip, by the way. Hello.
It's a family show. So it's about this little kid. Ben Savage plays the boy, Corey Feldman, and he has Corey Feldman Kerr, and his next door neighbor is also his teacher, which is Daniel Williams, I think, the voice of Kit.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Feeney. And so there's all these characters that there's like the friend that becomes like the bad influence of Sean Hunter. So there,
I saw a YouTube clip of this a long time ago. There's an episode where like he gets sucked into a cult because of like there's like a cute girl who's like flirting with him and is like, you need to come to this thing. And like he shows up there and they're like, here, have some coffee or like whatever it is. It's like, they're like, oh, everything's great here. And he gets sucked into it. And then the teacher gets him out of it. That's the same show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have a podcast where it's that kid, it's Sean Hunter, it's the older brother, and it's the girlfriend of Ben in the show. It's those three actors. They do this podcast, and they also have videos on YouTube. So I've been watching it on YouTube, and I'll go listen to the actual podcast because there's a delay. So there's like some really cool stuff like behind the scenes where they're talking about things. And one of the things that they were talking about was in the first season, Corey, Ben Savage, he would have trouble saying the word how come. So sometimes he would say hokum. So sometimes you can catch him when he's like hokum, and then he'll I think they did a recent episode where he said how come like 11 times correctly, but the first time he said hokum and it stayed in. So that was like an inside joke that they would make fun of him, like, how come you say it like that, Ben? How come?
I feel like if I was a writer for that show, I would just make all his dialogue be like, well, how come that is? Or whatever, like just throw that in there just to mess with him. That's hilarious. I love that we're in an era like where if you get interested in something, there's like a podcast about it or a YouTube show about it. It's
it's like the people who were on that show doing the YouTube show and the podcast. Like Smallville, there's Talkville, and it's Clark Kent and Lex Luthor doing the the show. Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. So I watched that too. It's really fun. You can call. I haven't called in, but you can call in and leave a question. I should call in one of these days, but
You should.
I gotta watch like some of the episodes like in advance because they usually do them like.
Nice. You should call in as Captain Goggles.
This is Captain Goggles of South Texas, and I want to know an episode.
That's awesome, though. I have been like I said, I've been playing Risk, and I was just kind of curious because I was like, I have this like secret objective to at some point become a master and then eventually hopefully a grandmaster at it, which I'm nowhere near because I'm still kind of learning the tactics and stuff of it. But I just on that note of like finding whatever you want on YouTube, I looked it up. I was like, are there any like grandmasters like doing YouTube stuff? And there totally is. There's like 10 channels of like guys that are like experts at it, like playing the game and explaining, kind of walking through why they're making the decisions they're making. And it's super helpful, because it's like, oh, okay, like that's a good strategy or tactic or whatever. It's interesting. But again, it's cool being in an era where, like, I remember as a kid, like playing Metroid, and if you didn't have a subscription to like Nintendo Power, then you had to either get a secondhand one from a friend or play Nintendo with somebody who did know, and then they'd be like, oh, you take a right here because here's the map, and you're like, oh, okay, because otherwise you're just never going to beat that game. But now it's like, you can just Google stuff and have an answer at your fingertips. Like for comics, like Scott Circland. You can find out how to make comics from the ground up by checking out Scott Circland's Comics 101.
Which I use his template for the standard comic page all the time, which I actually, in this drawing that I'm doing, since I use it so often, I already have it there. So I just use that as like when I'm drawing anything, and I'll just crop it to size. But like I have the template right here. I'm looking at the page template I'm looking at. So I use this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it comes in handy.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's just cool being in this day and age, Well, we're about 10 minutes to closing.
Okay.
Let's see. Let everybody know where to find your stuff one last time. I think would be good.
All right. You can find me on Salazar Art Nation and on Instagram and on YouTube. And on Instagram, there is the Taraku Comics Instagram. So there's a link there to all my stuff. So if you want to get anything on Etsy, I do have 2 of these Power Ranger cards up there for sale. I'm going to put the rest of them there soon. I am debating whether to put them all in one bundle or not. But for now, if you go in time, you might get 2, and then I'll just put them separately.
Yeah, and the cool thing about ordering from Frank, he customizes every order. He always adds something. Usually, he puts a lot of care into what he does, and he always delivers. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, we had a couple people stop by that I want to mention and give shout outs to. We had Jim Lujan stop by, and Jim Lujan, you guys should be following his YouTube channel for sure, and check out his animated animated movies, and also check out his Society 6 shop where he has a lot of fun stuff. We had Gary Hodges of Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, also more currently known as D versus M. Gary Hodges, you can check him out looking for pretty much Gary Hodges on YouTube or Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. And Etsy, he also sells copies of that comic. If you go to his site and you go to Etsy and you see one available and you're kind of on the fence about it, just know often they'll sell out. And I actually got word in the messenger that the convention he was just at, he's about 2 issues away from completely sold out of his run of Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. So you may not be able to get it for another month or 2. So make sure you go support him, check out his comics. I think Frank would attest to the fact they're really solid comics. We had Gaz Gretzky also join us, and Gazbot on all social media platforms. And his artwork is awesome, and you should check out his Horror A4. And then we have plenty of awesome people in the chats, and I'd encourage you guys to just go through and check out like Paul Pate's stuff. Check out Christopher Runciman. I mean, you want to check out Philip Chandler. You want to check out Ronnie Gunter. It's a lot of talent that stopped by and supported this. And of course, my friend Corey Kerr. Like, just check out all these people's work. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me while I streamed. And Philip just sang a song for us.
I'm so glad we had this time together. I don't know what the song is.
I don't either, but that's awesome. And I will say, I will be back probably in an hour or so after eating food. So if you guys are around, make sure you check it out. If you want to know when I'm about to go live and stuff like that, make sure you've hit that bell so that you're getting notifications when I'm going to go live, because I'm planning on doing streaming more consistently. I'm glad to get back into it. I appreciate the support. Thanks, Frank. And thanks, everybody. And I will see you guys on the next stream. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Phil.